Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lonely Marks Wrestling Podcast. I am Austin Pez Howell alongside Richie Goodacre. Richie, how's it going, sir?
Yeah, not too bad, despite what you made me watch and what I'm trying to watch again in the
Hey,
background.
honestly, it wasn't the worst Russo show I ever saw. They actually
No,
let some of them
there was some good
time, and
matches.
there was some decent wrestling. I don't know about like decent psychology wrestling, but there was moves. Do you like
There,
moves? There
there,
was
there,
some
there were
matches with
moves
moves.
and then stupid character decisions, and then yeah. Anyway, we'll get into the
And I think almost all but one match had like shenanigans and run-ins. Maybe all but two. I think there's two matches that didn't have like run-ins, or nonsense like that. We'll talk about it. I usually put a star by each match that has some kind of shenanigan with a finish or run-ins or something. I think 8 out of 10 at least had that, and
yeah,
almost every match had a dumb stipulation. So there you go.
yeah, yeah,
We'll get to Fall Brawl 2000 minute. JPO should be here soon. I believe he's finishing up a trivia match, so he'll join us in a minute. But yeah, we'll just kind of talk about a few of the goings on. I guess one of the bigger things is actually we had a title change on Raw, which is kind of rare nowadays. But Jey Uso, Richie successfully defeated Braun Breaker to win the Intercontinental Championship. I know you've been talking about Jay, possibly getting a singles title. I know it was a big deal. He's only ever had tag team gold, right? So this is kind of a big deal
yeah.
for him. Singles gold. I think the only thing, maybe that is not so great about it is Braun Breaker did not have much of a title reign, as Intercontinental Champion, but hopefully he's young enough where he'll get another run with, a belt like that soon. And we'll see what has to be in contention. But yeah, what do you think about them actually pulling the trigger on the Jey Uso thing on Raw?
I think that, I feel like they had to do it sooner or later because he'd become a sort of a dude who sort of like I don't know, like a Baron Corbin type who challenged for all these titles but never won them. So you'd have to eventually, in order to make him sort of credible, you're gonna have to make him win some title. And I don't see him winning the major big belt anytime soon. So any kind of title is good for him. But yeah, I didn't expect Braun to lose as quickly. But I do that when they clearly like Braun Breaker. I think there's probably bigger things in his future. I could see him potentially, being a potential Money in the Bank winner maybe next year. I could see him winning. I could see him winning the major belt next year. Honestly, I think they're really high on him. So I wouldn't worry about too much about him. But yeah, wouldn't have minded having a big a longer reign. But you know, um, but like this was I think this is I yeah, as it was building up, I'm like, like building up to it. And I'm like, oh yeah, Jey Uso's winning this, and yeah, so no, it's good for him. And yeah, I hope. I never sort of. I always thought he was, considering I always thought he was going to be a tag guy. It's good that he's broken out and still insanely over. So like, you got to capitalize on that at some point. Otherwise, his momentum will suffer. So I think it's a good thing in the long run. Yeah, we'll see where he goes from here. But yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, no, my only concern is that he might be wrapped up in some bloodline stuff pretty soon, with Roman. So I was wondering if that's gonna like hinder us from actually seeing him, have a bunch of singles defenses, or if he's gonna start wrapped up in this bloodline stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll kind of see
I mean
where
they
that
don't like
goes.
defending the mid. They seem to not like defending the mid card title on pay per view. So maybe they'll just be like, oh well, you
Yeah,
can do the bloodline stuff on Survivor Series, and
and
yeah,
still do intercontinental stuff, on Raw. So yeah, we'll see. But I mean, it opens up for some decent matches. We can see him and guys like Ilya Dragunov or guys like Sheamus or even some dudes like speaking of guys like Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman, they have announced for next week a last monster standing is what they're calling it. It's what Adam Pearce called it, because they've just been, tearing up, things everywhere they go. And but that's going to be on Raw. And it's going to be like a main event on Raw. So I mean, that's interesting. But I mean, I kind of like this. They're just letting them be two giant beefed up monsters just wrecking shop every time they get in the ring and just beat the shit out of each other. It's been pretty fun to watch.
I actually I find it funny because it's almost like because they would also just like you'd see them in the background just beating each other up during outdoor segments. It's almost like they're almost like a Peter Griffin and the chicken in the Family Guy.
Yeah, they just keep going.
Just everywhere they go. Yeah, but I know I like the feud. I like as we've talked about on the show. I like big meaty, big meat matches. So this is it could only be a good thing. Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it. I like when I think it was was it last week or the week before the ring broke, the ring breaking gimmick, and I think Joe Tessitore, who's like sort of not he's decent for his level of experience, but he went like, oh no, we can't have a match now. I'm like, oh, you can still have a match as referee.
Yeah, there's a referee. Bloodsport seems to do it all the time without ropes. Just it's fine. Yeah, and yeah, referee can still count a pin in a ring technically as long as it's there. Yeah, it's been indie shows where ropes broke or whatever, and you just you keep going. You just do what you gotta do.
Yeah, but no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping. I mean, Bronson Reed will get more out of winning than Braun Strowman will, so hopefully that's where they go. And then leading into obviously Seth Rollins is going to get revenge at some point, so hopefully he comes back from his
I could see the Bronson Reed Seth Rollins thing maybe even being like a number one contender thing for the world heavyweight title. I think that could be interesting. Those guys are kind of contender guys, and you can see them lining that up, or if that maybe puts Bronson Reed, in kind of an intercontinental picture. But I mean, Bronson's one of those guys. I think if you push him right, and I think they've been doing it right, he could be kind of in that world title picture. He could have great matches with some of those guys. Drew McIntyre, or Punk, or even Gunther. If you actually put him in there, I think they could have a nice meaty match.
Yeah, his move is certainly over the tsunami. Like, oh yeah,
tsunami,
yeah.
I don't see R-Truth getting one up on Bronson Reed. Sorry, he's just not.
Maybe he hires someone to take out Bronson Reed, but he doesn't do it himself.
No, he can't do it himself. He's not in that position, and they're putting Bronson over as a big monster right now. Sorry, R-Truth is a comedy gimmick at this point. Like, it's just not happening. R-Truth would probably be like, he might do the thing where be like, I'm calling out Bronson Reed, and Bronson Reed comes out and he goes, I am uncalling out Bronson Reed, and I'm leaving.
I mean, because at this point there's a lot of Bronsons and stuff. He was like, I'm gonna get my revenge on Braun Breaker.
Yeah, Braun Breaker. Yeah, I'm gonna be like, what the hell? You get the wrong guy.
He'll get spit out of his shoes. And you're like, oh, what?
Yeah, well, I'm done with this. I'm going back to doing something else. Yeah, I don't see that happening. Yeah, I mean, and that was kind of the big thing that happened, at least sort of over there. Yeah, I mean, I think we joked about it in our private chat, but yeah, we've been willing things into pay-per-view existence because we talked about the stipulation that got added to Live and Rhea Bad Blood. I talked about the old school hanging the guy in the cage above the ring, and sure enough, what do we get? That Dominic will be hanging above a shark cage in the shark cage in the ring. And I was like, well, that's definitely very old school, because I literally just watched one of those matches with Malcolm when we watched Survivor Series 96. It was a Mankind Undertaker thing where Paul Bearer was hung in a shark cage, and he cut a funny promo where he's just like, I am not an animal. I'm not an animal. It was really funny. But yeah, they put him in there. It's an old gimmick. Like Jim Cornette used to get put in the shark cages above the ring, for those things. He would toss down gimmicks, for guys to toss down some brass knuckles or a chain or something, from the thing. Or I could see Dom doing the same thing, having some gimmick, with them to cause some chaos. But yeah, it's very old school what they're doing with the shark cage thing.
I mean, it's funny, but we'll get to it when you do as Bad Blood predictions. I believe it is next week, but the predictions are next week at least.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean the shark cage, in storyline is supposed to keep stop interference or whatever, but it's actually changed my view of who would win the match, because I'm like, okay, well now you put it in a shark cage. I thought maybe Rio would get it tied back. No, no, things now I think it's going to actually Dom's going to cost him the match. So yeah, by having like throwing some gimmick down there. So yeah, I mean it's a fun gimmick, but it doesn't work for the intended purpose it's supposed to.
Yeah, well, it's just like how every cage match, like nowadays, it's like it's supposed to, especially in WCW, holy, like, oh, it's supposed to prevent, interference, but it seems like people just interfere anyways, in cage matches.
Yeah.
That's the intended purpose, but yeah, it's just they kind of lost their purpose. Same with Hell in a Cell, like that doesn't prevent anybody from interfering in it or whatever. But yeah, so I mean that was an interesting little thing. Yeah, Bad Blood is shaping up to be a pretty good show. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Yeah, and as far as over on the AEW side, they had their Grand Slam they've been building up to. I didn't get to see much of it because I don't have cable. Just a few highlights I saw on YouTube. But apparently Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness had their match. They apparently it was a good match, but not a great match. So not one of their kind of all-time classics like they had back in the day. Did you see that WWE filed a claim on AEW, put out like a best of Nigel McGuinness thing, and it was all like Ring of Honor footage, and they tried to claim that it was like their footage, and it was a false claim, and then AEW beat it like almost immediately.
Yeah, because it's like, well, yeah, like how like what grounds did you have? Because it's like, they even own Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor now too. So what would you like?
Because it's probably just dumb algorithms like WWE things that they have put out there, feeling out for like just wrestling footage, thinking it's theirs and it's not, and Nigel worked there for a little while as an announcer, so maybe he's like in their algorithms as far as looking for stuff. But yeah, literally the video, people were like, bro, like the video used all like pretty much all Ring of Honor or AEW footage, so like it didn't use anything from WWE even when he was an announcer. So yeah, they literally had no ground. I mean, it was put back up like it did, but still, like, it got taken down. It got taken down like an hour after it got taken up. Just one of those weird copyright things. Yeah,
that is pretty funny. But yeah, I need to. I need to go and watch the match. But yeah, I've heard it. I've heard this similar thing that it doesn't get into the sort of the go into like full gear. I guess it's, it's a good match, but I guess maybe expectations are a bit too high. Maybe I don't know, but like but as long as we get a good match out of it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting those guys to kill each other like they did like 15 years ago, you know what I mean? And have a type of match where they're just brutalizing each other, at this point of their careers. And again, Nigel has been back for one match, and he wasn't even really one of the main focuses of the match.
Yeah, it was a battle royal.
Yeah, it was a battle royal. He just had a couple of spots here and there. I mean, he looked good, but yeah, I'm not fully expecting him to have an absolute classic like that. We'll see if he continues to wrestle, or maybe they have another match down the line. And also, coming out of that with Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley beat Darby Allin to now I think he's confirmed that he will be facing Danielson at Wrestle Dream. So, so Bryan Danielson will get his chance to get his revenge on this attempted murder in a match with regular
in a match. Hopefully there's a stipulation before wrestling. For Wrestle Dream. I thought it was a good touch. Like, I did see this at the end. Bryan Danielson did sort of get a measure of revenge. He sort of came out and he choked Jon Moxley with a tie. Yeah, a bit of a callback to Justin Roberts.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's when he got fired, right?
Yeah.
At least the first time before they brought him back. Yeah. When he choked out Justin Roberts, which I always thought was silly because it was like, he was just kind of getting into the character, and he didn't like really hurt him. You know what I mean? He was just doing his thing, but he went off scripts, and he was still just an NXT guy. So
yeah. But yeah, no, I thought it's going to be. I think that. I mean, yeah, it's going to be hard to call because I was hoping Bryan Danielson would have a decent run, but like I could definitely see it going either way. But yeah, still know the thing about this, like. Jon Moxley, Romper Stomper, putting a very edgy. It's weird because it's like, I mean, I like edginess in wrestling, but also like maybe not Not murder, but anyway.
Side note, just got where JPO overdid himself tonight. He's pretty exhausted, so he's not going to be here tonight. So it'll just be me and you, but that's all good because we watched the show we're going to review anyways. And I was just going to have JPO. I don't think he even saw it. I was just going to have him bring up cage match facts about a few people, sort of what happened to those guys. Maybe with guys like, I don't know, Reno, Mike Sanders, a couple of these guys that are all over the show.
Yeah.
But we'll make our way through it. But yes, I believe Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher were unsuccessful in defeating the Young Bucks for the tag titles, but apparently it was a good match.
I think I know about the finish. Apparently, like it was like he, Don Callis again. He wanted Kyle Fletcher to use a screwdriver. Will Ospreay didn't let Kyle Fletcher use it, and then that distracted him and Young Bucks won. So I don't know. I feel like this is all it should lead to him just like being to going away from Don Callis. I'm surprised that they all haven't, because most of the Don Callis family now are baby faces.
Yeah, no, it's like, Don Callis is still hated by the fans, but all the people he manages are getting cheered, including like Takeshita, who's supposed to be like this hired gun as well. And the fans love him and are tuning in to watch his, hoping, he gets big wins, especially given the fact he's feuding with Okada, who's a complete dick, even in character. It's fans. And, we're waiting for that match. That match might happen at Wrestle Dream. And if it does, I think that'll be really good. So we'll see if that happens. And we'll see who, Will Ospreay ends up wrestling. I don't think they've said who he's wrestling at Wrestle Dream as of right now, right? I know he's got Ricochet on that anniversary show coming up.
Yeah, which is next week, I believe. They'll probably build something up beyond, from that. I gather. Hopefully, there's no interference, and they just have it. They don't have a good match, and then something happens afterwards. Not like the show we're about to review, where this would be a good match. Oh, interference, okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. I hope they upload most of that Will Ospreay Ricochet match, because I'd really like to see that, especially to give them time. I can see them giving him a good amount of time. It'd be one of those things where if you were watching it live, Richie, it'll probably go through like 3 commercial breaks, and we got to do another commercial break, and another commercial break, and another commercial break.
Did you hear what Ricochet said that Vince criticized? What Vince's criticism of him was? That Vince said that Ricochet was too spectacular.
Too spectacular, because you wouldn't want a guy that blows the audience away with what he does. What a
bad trait.
What a bad trait to make the crowd go ooh ah with what you do. That's absolutely horrible. He's too much, which is why he probably never got us over as much, because we know what he can do. We've seen what he can do in other companies and whatnot, and it's a shame he never got maybe his just due. He one of those guys who just. Never could break sort of that upper mid card even on there. And just as it seemed like Triple H was about to maybe push him, he was probably already had one foot out the door, unfortunately.
He's like, I want to. And you had people like Ricochet and Park kind of nudging him, like, hey, come with us. Come wrestle us.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate. Couple of things. There's a 2-night SummerSlam next year. They've announced for New Jersey, so that's the thing. I know. Didn't they already announce that for Indianapolis in like 2026?
They announced for 2026 for Indianapolis, and then
that's one for next year.
Maybe they were announced next year, this year for a 2-day thing, just to maybe trial it out. But it's interesting. See how it works. I can see it working. So,
I can see it working. Well, also be I think maybe it's one of those things where they'll have enough. The way they've been booking these long-term storylines, I think it'll be like WrestleMania, where they'll have enough storylines to kind of stretch things out over 2 nights, especially if they have a bunch of blow-off matches and things like that. Then you could definitely have, say, the WWE title headline one night, World Heavyweight title headline, another night. Maybe actually feature those mid-card titles, actually feature U.S. title and Intercontinental title on those nights.
At SummerSlam, they should feature the mid-card titles. And
that would be a thing, especially they have 2 nights. Obviously, you feature U.S. title on one night, and the IC title on the other night. Have the tag titles get defended, on both nights. You could I wouldn't even mind if they had like an NXT showcase match, on SummerSlam. Have an NXT title match or something, or just to showcase some NXT people who were really, really over. Yeah, no, Nelson makes a good point. That might be seen as last SummerSlam. I mean, it'll be seen as last everything next year, right? It should be his last WrestleMania,
Yeah.
last SummerSlam, last whatever. So last of everything.
The only match I've heard that's rumored for him, and it makes sense, and I'm looking forward to it. It could be even a title match, like depending on but like Cena and Gunther would be interesting. I mean, if
Oh
that
yeah,
hit
we
right,
talked about that on our rankum where we talked about
yeah,
John Cena opponents. I said, who's better at maybe standing up to a bully, a guy who's belittling everybody than John Cena, right? And the ultimate kind of babyface against the asshole heel. Like it makes sense. And
yeah,
I'm not saying Cena doesn't have to win. He could put Gunther over, but he could play kind of that babyface, in peril, and it could be. At least the promos could be good. I'm loving Gunther on the microphone lately. He's been
yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
he's
we talked about if we had like a most improved on the mic, for characters, in the awards. Like I would definitely have Gunther pretty high on my list as far as like most
yeah.
improved character wise. I
Yeah,
love
no,
this.
he's fantastic. Yeah, he's having a lot of fun. But yeah, I definitely see Gunther and John Cena at some point. I could see like I don't know, like maybe not the main title or anything. I think that's sort of I don't think he really would even want that. But like I don't know if you want to give him like a short run next year with like a mid card title or something. Just I don't know. They're just like a title he
Yeah,
hasn't held, like maybe the Intercontinental. I don't know, like
we'll
Intercontinental.
see.
I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't even know if he would advocate for that. I think he just wants to have matches with really talented people and just kind of work with these guys that he's been wanting to work with or work with them again.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, Gunther's troll character has been amazing. Yeah, pretty much every week.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean
He's,
that
yeah.
that thing with Bret Hart was amazing. It's one of those
Yeah.
one of my favorite moments of the year. Just him be like, "You'll always be second best," and to my true favorite wrestler, Bill Goldberg. That was amazing. It was so good.
I would love the idea if they didn't tell him beforehand, and
They might not have. They might have done it as a rib, like to Brett. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be surprised if maybe like Brett thinks he's gonna say Shawn Michaels and he swerved him on the like before he went out and say Bill Goldberg instead. Like and not even just Goldberg. Like he says it like how Brett always calls him Bill Goldberg and
yeah, Bill
every time he
Goldberg.
always says it. Yeah, even in promos like around the time in WCW, always called him Bill Goldberg. He never just called him
Yeah,
Goldberg. So
Bret Hart had a knack for like he wouldn't shorten things. Like even if he was talking about WCW, he would call it the WCW. Like the WCW, they're only winning the WCW championship. Like
the
you wouldn't,
WCW, yeah.
he wouldn't. She doesn't shorten things. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like yeah. So, but that was amazing. But yeah, he's great. He's a great troll, and yeah, I think it's fantastic. We probably should if it was before nothing happened on AEW. MVP showed up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, talk about because MVP, are they positioning him to be with Swerve instead of Nana or with Nana? Like what's going on with that?
I mean, they're teasing it. I don't know whether that should happen. I don't want him to go. I don't want him to break up with Nana because And I said this sort of just before we went on air. Like because I'm going to Grand Slam in Brisbane, and yeah, I want to do the swerve. I want to do the swerve on the drive dance. And can't do it. Yeah, it wouldn't be the same if did it if MVP's there. He wouldn't be. I got to do it with Prince Nana, man.
Yeah, he's already got a good manager. He doesn't need another manager. Like that's the weird thing. It's like
Yeah,
I get it unless it's all a setup to bring in Lashley.
To bring in Lashley and maybe Shelton Benjamin, like to as like the Hurt Business or whatever they're going to be called.
Man, I think Shelton's one of those guys that he can still go. I think he's one of those guys that actually could benefit from like an AEW run, at least a little bit. I know their roster is like insane. They need to cut some of the roster. Like they do need to cut if they're going to keep bringing dudes in. They need to cut some of the roster guys who just
expire.
Just keep letting contracts expire. Like those people that we haven't even seen on TV in forever. Those people who just pop up like once every 6 months. You just need to trim some people. Just let those guys go work indies. Use their name. Just to work their indies. But I wonder if they're going to use it just as a setup to bring in Shelton or Lashley or something.
Well, maybe like
I guess
I know MVP said this that like initially, I think when they're putting together Hurt Business, I don't know why it didn't happen, but initially they wanted. It was, I mean, Cedric fit in really well, but initially they wanted Ricochet, so maybe Ricochet fits in there at some point.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe they set up some kind of faction, and bring Ricochet into that, and I mean, not that AEW doesn't already have like a million factions and trios, you know what I mean? Like they've got as many of those, probably more than they need as far as a bunch of those trios factions and whatnot. But hey, a trios team managed by MVP of Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and Ricochet.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good trios. You know what I mean? Like that's some fresh stuff right there. Because that's one of those trios that I like, and we'll talk about one that's actually similar to that here on Fall Brawl. Where they had the MIA guys, where it's like Chavo and Lash LaRue and AWOL, like one big guy and then two little guys. Like I'm not exactly like against trios that are like that. I mean, that's like House of Black, with you have like Big Brody King, and then you have like Aleister Black and Buddy Matthews. You know what I mean? I like trios like that with one big guy.
Yeah, you have like the trios too. Like, you have a faction that can do every, that serves every purpose. You got like a faction that can have like a, go after the tag titles. You got like a fast guy that could be like a credible mid card.
Learning Tree has Big Bill. You know what I mean? Like one big guy, and then you have Jericho and Keith. Like a veteran guy, and then a smaller guy. Yeah, and then you could like do a Freebird thing where whoever goes for tag titles or whatever. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned Shelton Benjamin and Ricochet as a tag team. That's a hell of a tag team.
Great, yeah, that'd be great. I think that'd be pretty sick. Yeah.
And Lashley could be the big enforcer, like the big muscle of the group, and occasionally do trio stuff. Like I'm fine with that. That could be all right.
It's crazy. Like Lashley's like late 40s. He doesn't look like he's late 40s.
He's like R-Truth. He just doesn't age.
Shelton Benjamin, really? Shelton Benjamin's the same age.
Shelton looks the same too. Yeah, these guys just don't age. I don't know what. Yeah, MVP looks almost the same. I mean, he looks a little older, but he still looks good. For his age. Like, all those guys look great. And if they can still go, and I could see a trios coming out of there and kind of reforming a new version of Hurt Business. They might have to call it something different. I don't know if WWE has a trademark on that.
I know. I think I read some of that MVP's trademark thing called the Hurt Syndicate.
Oh yeah, he copyrighted something else, right? So they could be setting up for a version of it. Yeah, Hurt Syndicate, that'd be fine. I could see that kind of freshening up that division. That'd be all right. So bring in Ricochet. Let him join that faction and be be kind of an asshole if he wants to be, a little bit or something. Be a little bitter.
Has he been a heel? Because it's hard to be. I feel like it's hard to be heel and also do that the crowd pleasing kind of moves and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, because Shelton can be either one. Obviously, he's been both. Lashley's been both. MVP's been both. So I guess it just depends on how they set them up. I almost feel like, I mean, look at the trios right now. Aren't they mostly heels? They could actually use kind of a babyface trio, right? Like at least a good one. Because I mean, if you look at like the Elite, are like heels. The Learning Tree are heels. House of Black is tweener, depending on what they need.
I think they're pretty much heels now, except for Wheeler Yuta, who's kind of undecided.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The BCC is heels. I meant House of Black. House of Black is
House of Black. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, House of Black is kind of either, depending on who they're facing. What Briscoe and Cassidy, they're baby faces, so that's one. But I mean, it kind of depends. Like, there's not a lot of baby. They could probably use another babyface trios team, or other faction, something like that.
Yeah, and I think they probably they could do that. Use that. And the one babyface-ish team they had was like Death Triangle, but then they lost Lucha Brothers, and Parker's heel now. So
yeah. I mean, Pac, his character is kind of better suited as a heel, anyways. Just the character that he is, just being like the bastard and all that kind of stuff. So he fits a little more into where the BCC is right now. So that's fine, because it almost seems like he's basically replacing Wheeler Yuta, and Wheeler's going to be kind of on his own now, or at least kind of. Maybe still trying to hang around Bryan Danielson, something like that, since he looks up to him. But maybe watching his back. So I mean, some interesting stuff going on there. We'll see what happens. Else gets announced. I'm sure some other stuff will get announced for the anniversary show next week, in addition to Ospreay and Ricochet, and then a few more things for Wrestle Dream, which is coming up pretty soon. So
any other news is not really big, but I thought it was interesting. Have you ever played the Yakuza games?
Yakuza, no, I haven't.
Okay, they're sort of like, they're kind of GTA-ish, right? But they've had like 6-7 games. In the latest new game, Samoa Joe's in it. He's going to be in the new game. So,
nice. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing a lot of these video games. I feel like he's slowly setting himself up for like life after wrestling.
Well, I mean, I think he's getting to that point where, I mean, literally, he's been wrestling for almost 25 years. He's one of those guys that started in like around 2000, in like the UWF or whatever, that out in California,
Yeah,
right?
there's like a picture of him in 1999 with John Cena and UWF.
That's what I mean. Yeah, and he even had some of those like dark matches as like Joe Sanoa, in like WWE when he was like a developmental guy for a little while around that same class. And yeah, he was in that first year of Ring of Honor. He's a first year Ring of Honor guy. So I mean, that dude's been wrestling forever, and I can understand that if he wants to do a little Hollywood. Hey, a lot of those guys do. I mean, I know he's in his late 40s now, so
Yeah.
why not, right? That's fine.
Yeah. Another guy though doesn't look like he's in his late 40s. He looks like the same. He looks pretty much the same.
Yeah. No, I know Bad Blood. Yeah, Roman and Cody and Bloodline. That's pretty much already guaranteed to be the main event of the show. Because it's Jacob Fatu and Solo, right? Is who they're facing.
Yeah.
That's already. I don't think it's been like officially said, but that's what they're going for. So that's what.
Which I get, but part of me was like, yeah, I get it, but like maybe the bigger blood, like feud that's been going on for ages is CM Punk and McIntyre.
Yeah, well, then I feel like hasn't the Hell in a Cell always main evented Bad Blood?
Yeah.
So I feel like the Hell in a Cell match should kind of main event the show because it has it all 3 or 4 whatever it is of those Bad Bloods that they've done, because you had the Undertaker Shawn Michaels one was the main event, the Triple H Kevin Nash, and then Triple H and Shawn Michaels Hell in a Cell was main event. So I feel like the Hell in a Cell match should main event the show, but I don't know. It feels like that's the way it should go. But yeah, so we'll see what actually gets announced, because it could be either or. We'll see. But I always feel weird having a Hell in a Cell match in the middle of the show. But I do like the fact that Hell in a Cell has gone back to being like it needs to be a feud blow off thing rather than just like when it was just like its own pay-per-view and you had multiple Hell in a Cell matches, even ones that weren't really like big feuds. I always thought that was kind of a waste. Like it needs to be a blow off thing.
Well, yeah, I think I'm glad gimmick pay-per-views have gone by the wayside for the most part. I think we've still got Elimination Chamber, but I kind of get Elimination Chamber still has its place, I guess. And Money in the Bank. I think Money in the Bank is almost like almost like an A pay-per-view.
Elimination Chamber is still on the road to WrestleMania, and sometimes could determine maybe one of the like they did like this past year, or could determine like the challenger for the World Heavyweight title, not necessarily the WWE title. Like that could be like the Royal Rumble person wants the big title, and then maybe the Elimination Chamber sets up heavyweight title. You know what I mean? Like I'm fine with that. Like it still sets the other side of it or whatever. And same with the women's championship. Like you still do that.
But yeah, you don't need a TLC pay per view. Like hey, we need a one match. There's one match TLC, but then one match is a ladder, one match is a chair. So you don't need that.
Yeah. No, I mean, Money in the Bank still, obviously, like I said, has its place, and it's still a big pay-per-view, and that has a purpose every year. So I'm fine with Money in the Bank. And then just filling it out with these other smaller PLEs, especially what they're probably going to keep doing next year with the different countries, keeping them international. I'm fine with that. And I would not be surprised if one of them takes place in Japan next year. I think they're gearing that up.
I think so too. And it wouldn't surprise me because they got working relationships in Japan, and they've got like Legends Deals people in Japan. I could see making just not obviously wrestling because they're older, but like making appearances, like making like special appearances there. Like you got you got deals like Great Muda there, and you're building a star up, and like Julia, she could make a debut there or something. I don't know. There are. You could have like, you could have like Asuka and Kairi Sane be in a big match there. Hopefully Nakamura on the card because he's been sort of.
It'd be one of those things where, hey, Nakamura, you're gonna get a title shot on the show because we're in Japan. So like they do with the hometown person. Oh hey, who's gonna challenge for an Intercontinental title? Well, we'll bring Tajiri back for a show, and he'll
Tajiri, Hey, Funaki, can you wrestle again? Can you wrestle still?
Taka, I think Taka's still wrestling.
Pretty sure Funaki was on. There was an episode on NXT, like there was someone with Julia. I swear it was Funaki. But anyway,
I think Funaki occasionally does Japanese commentary still.
Yeah,
part of that. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he's still like involved in I think he has a Legends deal, so he's involved in the company. I mean, you could have different old legends like making an appearance on that, or old alumni. I mean, I can see stuff like that. That's fine. But I think Japan's probably on the table. I know Triple H mentioned something about Italy, so I could see them announcing an Italy pay-per-view for next year, maybe in Backlash.
I
In
could see them
Italy.
going back to Australia.
Yeah, no, Australia will probably be on the table again. So yeah, I mean, there's multiple places options they could do it. So Mexico was probably on the table at some point.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll do an actual Mexico pay-per-view.
I will say, if people are watching, you haven't watched like a wrestling in Japan, don't expect like a lively like a rockers crap. They're pretty.
Yeah,
They're a lot
yeah.
more light.
No, they get loud for the certain spots where they're supposed to. Oh, yeah, like the false finishes, things like that. But yeah, it's a different type of crowd. But I think most wrestling fans know that because I mean they know Japanese fans.
Yeah,
so it's
I like how on the games they've even replicated that. Like if you go and like if you wrestle in Japan on the game, they're quiet. It's funny.
Yeah. No, that'd be interesting. It'd be something different. I think, even if anything, a different type of fun crowd. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have much else. That's kind of most of the news. We'll have some more stuff going into Bad Blood next week. Probably, we'll talk about whatever they do on that, that AEW, Dynamite anniversary show, things like that, and they'll start setting up some more stuff for Wrestle Dream. So,
and I believe that next week is the debut on CW for NXT.
That's right. Yeah, that's gonna be a big show. So yeah, we'll see that, and we'll what comes out. I don't know if I'll be able to see it, but I usually listen to the Brian Vinny show, recap it after the fact. So we'll see how that
He's
goes.
not been liking NXT lately, Brian.
Yeah, no, he's still pissed that they don't put up any graphics for anybody's names. They don't identify anybody, and he's like, "You're about to debut on a new network. You got to identify people, bro." It's like I do see his point of you have 12 athletic tall blondes. You need to identify them.
I mean I agree with him there, but there's a lot of people that are like, oh yeah, but and then he really likes Javon Evans like quite a bit.
Yeah, he's been so mad that the past year they've just shit on him like every week, and he just never wins. Yeah, they can't put that in. And well, I see his point though, because he had a lot of heat for a little while, being like a crowd favorite, and it's dying like week by week because he doesn't win. That's like Vince booking. Hey, we'll get this guy over by having him lose all the time. Like a way to get somebody
a losing streak, and then we'll have him win Money in the Bank or something.
Speaking of losing streaks, Giovanni Vinci, but oh well, that's a whole other story.
But then he'll get a world title shot when they go to Italy because he's Italian.
Yeah, right. Yeah, next year, just out of nowhere. But yeah, I don't have much else. We could probably get to our kind of main topic tonight and go a little retro. There are some parallels we can talk about with some of the stuff that's going on lately. But yeah, let's switch gears here. You did watch it, right? Like I know you were.
Yeah, no, I watched this show a couple of times. I didn't realize until I started watching it before. I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen the show a few times. I've rented it out at the video.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, this is a Russo show. I was kind of expecting the worst. I was pleasantly surprised with at least some of the wrestling on the show. Like they actually gave some time to some matches. There was some decent wrestling here and there. One match I really liked. We'll talk about it. And then a couple of matches I thought were pretty decent, but there was still some weird booking, a lot of goofy stipulations, a crowd that was the commentary's bad. A crowd that was very like mostly dead for most of the night, except for a few spots, which I mean, they didn't really have much of a reason to get super excited, but it is what it is. But still, interference all over the place. No clear rules in some matches as to what exactly how people are supposed to win, or lose. We'll talk about it. We'll get into it.
Matches that are no DQ. I found out that no DQ like during the match apparently.
Yeah, right. And even announcers find out sometimes during the match, and they're just like, I guess about 20 low blows throughout the show we'll talk about, but anyways, I swear there was low blows in every match, and that just doesn't matter anymore to anything. But yeah, so we are talking about WCW Fall Brawl 2000. I just wanted something within the fall spirit, and I felt like we've talked about a lot of good shows, so I wanted to like get kind of a wacky bad show, but again, not as bad as I kind of thought it was going to be. There's bright spots on the show, but there's still plenty of goofy, wacky, bad stuff on the show, so we'll talk about it as we go along. Your announcers are Tony Schiavone, Mark Madden, and Scott Hudson for the most part, and then a whole bunch of guest people just jumping on commentary. That even in one match I had no idea who was on commentary, but somebody was from the Natural Born Thrillers. I couldn't tell who it was because they didn't say. People just randomly getting on the mic. I don't know.
And then later on it was like the ICP.
yeah, just for like 2 minutes before they interfered. We'll talk about it. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So it's September 17th, 2000 from Buffalo, New York. They said there was 10 matches and I shuddered. I went, oh my God, 10 matches. Holy shit. Although that's not as unusual for like an AEW show. We've had AEW pay-per-views that went 10 matches and they all got time. Some of these were like 4 minutes long, but they squeezed all this into a 3-hour show. But yeah, so just kind of a quick video package to start the show. We really kind of get right into it, so there's not a whole lot of shenanigans at the beginning of the show. We start off with a cruiserweight title match, as we've got
it's not cruiserweight title. It's 100 grams or under. It's 100 kilograms or under. That's what they called it. 100 kilograms.
Sure.
Why are you British all of a sudden? Why are we?
Well, that, and I want to point out that I listened to the Brian and Vinny shows for the 2 weeks before this. Elix Skipper was nowhere to be found on those Nitros. I don't know if he's just like popping up on Thunder only, if like cruiserweight title is exclusive to Thunder. I don't know, because he's not on any of these Nitros. So I don't know if they just have him on Thunder, I guess. I don't know, because I didn't even know he was champion going into this, because I had no idea, or if they just forgot about it and then just like, oh yeah, we should probably defend the cruiserweight title. But yeah, so we got Kiwi with Paisley, aka Charmel, the future Queen Charmel, taking on primetime Elix Skipper, who also has a lady in her corner, the Canadian Major Guns and her tits.
Who doesn't want to be, who's a reluctant member of Team Canada.
Yes, and the whole thing is, she was she's being like kind of held against her will and turned into a Canadian by Lance Storm. It's weird. He's having her like do exercises and doing all these Canadian things to be Canadian, and she doesn't want to be Canadian. Okay. I don't know. It's dumb. It's Russo. It's stupid. But yeah, she's out there wearing like a Canadian, flag, like bikini thing. And she's out there with Elix Skipper. We'll see her later as well for another match. But yeah, so we got Kiwi and primetime Elix Skipper, who is again still fairly new at this time. He'd only been in WCW for a couple of months. So yeah, he's still pretty green, as you'll see for a few spots in this match. We start out with them trading holds back and forth. Kiwi getting the better of them. There's some arm drags. And eventually they do a leapfrog that gets botched, I think, by Elix.
Yeah, was it Kiwi's fault, or was it
I think Kiwi went to leapfrog and Elix forgot to duck, so they just ran into each other and fell over. And and so Kiwi just had to kind of drag him to the corner and just put some boots to him. Yeah, I think Elix screwed that one up because he didn't duck when he was supposed to. But yeah, Elix hits a flying forearm, some European uppercuts. He then does this like turnaround springboard moonsault into a kidney punch. That was weird. he does this like amazing. He spins around, he jumps off the top rope, does this moonsault, and then just like hits like a forearm to the kidney. I was like, okay. That was a lot for nothing, but all right. It looked pretty, I guess. So, hey, I'll tell you one thing. Elix is good at flipping. He's good at flipping and balancing. I'll give him that. He's very athletic,
But he's probably always going to be known for scaling the cage.
The cage spot is the one thing he'll forever be known for. And that's an amazing spot. Don't get me wrong. That gets shown all over the place. It's still amazing, but yeah, he's good at balancing and jumping. I'll give him that.
But I always find it weird, obviously he's supposed to be the heel, but he's like doing these crowd pleasing moves. I'm like, oh man, I like this guy.
No, he's not bad. But he does a back suplex on Kiwi and hits a corkscrew leg drop out of the corner for 2. He puts on a very, very long sleeper hold for like 5 minutes. The sleeper hold went forever.
I had a bit of sleep during that. I'm like,
I was looking at my phone during this. Kiwi tries to fight back, gets a leaping cross body. He tries to do a leaping cross body into the ropes, but Elix doesn't go over and just bent his backwards. Damn near killed himself getting bent backwards on the ropes because he didn't go over. Elix then hits a top rope outside moonsault and wipes out the cameraman. I don't think that was intentional. He literally lands. The camera picks him up, is looking straight at him, and then the camera just gets completely obliterated by the moonsault. I don't think that was intentional, but he wipes out the cameraman. So kind of another little bit of a botch there. Elix tries the overdrive, but Kiwi's able to counter it into a short power bomb. All the 18 members of the Natural Born Thrillers then come to the ramp and just stand there watching the match.
Bunch of geeks
a whole bunch of geeks. Oh my god! I like him too, but oh my god, there's 900 members. There's 900 people in this faction. I can't keep up with them, especially later. But Kiwi hits a knee lift and a Luthez press. Hits a drop kick for 2. He hits another back body drop for 2, so he's kind of back in control here. They go to the outside. He throws Elix Skipper into the rails. One of them, he threw him head first in the rails. It looked kind of gross. I think Elix Skipper had to tuck his head on that one. And then behind the referee's back, as the ref is checking on Elix, Mike Sanders comes in with a stickball bat and hits Kiwi in the back with it.
On his back 3 times on the show.
He's all over the show. Mike Sanders is all over the show. The stickball bat is a thing for some reason. I don't know. It was a thing for Big Vito. I don't know if they stole it from him. I don't know. But then Kiwi rolls through a top rope crossbody from Elix for 2. Elix then does the kind of Matrix back bend thing that Trish Stratus used to do, and he hits a chop block out of that. And then he hits our favorite finishing move, Richie, the overdrive, the play of the day, whatever you want to call it, the horrible finisher that is the overdrive that never looks good, and he hits it for the 3 count. So
did he come up with this move? Because
I think he's one of the first guys I saw use it, and then Randy Orton used it when he first debuted.
And MVP and then
MVP. It's never a good move. That move looks like shit, and I people try to sell it like it's devastating. Kiwi did his best to try to sell it, but it still looks bad. It's still a dumb move. I mean. Yeah. We see Elix in this match, Richie. He's doing all these crazy dives, and like he couldn't just do like a corkscrew moonsault or something, like something off the top, like a cool or even just a big moonsault or something. Do a flippy move off the top. That's what you were good at. Do that. Do a top rope hurricane, do something. This overdrive, it just looks silly, but he gets the 3 count and he retains the title. Yeah, what do you think about this thing overall?
I mean, because if he came up with the move, I'm gonna just bench all the praise, all the compliments I had for him, because that move shouldn't exist. That move's stupid. But I thought this match was decent, and it's probably far removed from like the cruiserweight openers you'd see maybe a few years before this, with like the multi-mans with your Rays and your Hoogies and your Kidmans and other stuff. But like it's still a fun match. But Elix is a bit green here. But it wasn't bad. It was just I'm sure it was wasn't the greatest night for Elix, but he'd get better.
Yeah, no, he got better, and I can see why TNA at least used him a little bit. Yeah, I didn't think he was bad. He definitely showed potential here. He was just a little spotty and green in a couple of places, but not a bad opener. It's I've seen way worse matches than this, so I'm making it out to be worse than it is. It's perfectly watchable. Like it's fine. It's a perfectly good 2.5-star opener. You know what I mean? Like it's perfectly fine. So, all right, we got 3 count comes out to start singing their song. They start to sing it, but the MIA interrupt them. Their network music sucks. The music they
I was about to mention that. But the network music is all over the show.
It's so bad. Yeah,
it's like oh yeah, you can tell too, because it's like their network dubbing it's overpowers like every other crowd, the crowd reaction overpowers commentary. So it's I can tell this is
and I remember their WCW thing was something like Misfits, Misfits. Like it was not bad. It was a decent little song, and whatever they dubbed it over. This and Ernest the Cat Miller's music on there is terrible. It's really really bad. The dubbing is bad on some of these songs. Yeah, Mike Awesome had a badly dubbed song later. Whatever it was, just bad dubs all over the place. But we have another match without really a crazy stipulation with it. It's just a 6-man, trios tag match. As we got the 3 count consisting of Shannon Moore, Sugar Shane Helms, and Evan Courageous taking on the Misfits in action of AWOL, formerly known as The Wall. So Sergeant AWOL, I believe. Lieutenant Loco, who is Chavo Guerrero, and Corporal Cajun, who is Lash LaRue. So it's a trios match here. There was a lot going on in this match because, boy, was there a million tags in and out. So I did my best to keep up with this, but holy crap, was there people all over the place. I had to pause this several times to kind of catch up. But we kind of start out with Shannon and Loco. There's some chops and a wheelbarrow suplex from Loco. He tags in Corporal Cajun. Vince Russo, by the way, was really high on Lash LaRue, in these last 2 years. I remember him getting pushed all over the place. He really liked Lash LaRue for some reason, but
I thought he was all right. But
he was decent, but he pushed him like he was like this major star all over the place, and I was like, he's okay. Lash hit some snap jabs, but Shannon counters with a quick moonsault, tags in Evan, but Evan gets press slammed by Lash LaRue, tags in the big man AWOL. AWOL hits a huge gorilla press into a power slam on Shannon. That actually popped the crowd pretty good because, it's fun to watch big guys beat up small guys. That will never get old. So that usually gets a pop when they toss the reason why
around. There's a reason why we all love, Spike Dudley getting thrown through tables by like Mike Awesome and shit like that.
Yeah. No, it's fun to watch a big guy just obliterate a small guy. It's always fun. But he tags quickly back out to Loco, who gets tripped and takes a double neck breaker from 3 count for a 2. Shannon's back in, hits a running calf kick, and then a showstopper is what they called it for a 2 count, which is basically a Fameasser. Hits a Fameasser for 2. There's a tag team suplex and a cross body combo. It looked pretty good. It was like one of them picked him up for a suplex, and the other came off the top with like a cross body. That was a cool little double team. For a 2. I always like 3 count. They always at least try to do some cool, tag team combo moves and stuff. And 3 pretty talented workers here. So
and then they had to rule that with bringing in Tank Abbott.
Tank Abbott as their DJ. Yeah, that was bad. Evan hits a power slam and hits a top rope elbow drop for a 2 count. Tags in Shane, and Shane hits a big sunset flip for a 2, kind of off the second rope. There's a Russian leg sweep on Loco as they're kind of beating on him for a little while. Tags in Shannon. He hits a turnaround splash off the top rope for a 2 count. But Corporal Cajun finally gets the tag, comes in with a big springboard X Factor, which looked pretty good. And then tags in AWOL again. So the big man comes in with a big boot and hits a backbreaker at Evan. But there's our first of many low blows as Shane just hits a low blow to the wall here. Get used to that because, oh my God, there was about 20 low blows on the show. Holy shit, that was like the cutoff for every match. So Shannon hits a big somersault plunge to the outside. There's kind of a dive sequence. Loco hits a dive. Evan hits a big springboard crossbody onto both of those guys. Shane goes to hit the ropes to go for a dive, but AWOL cuts him off, grabs him. He set up a table kind of at ringside, so it's going to come into play later. He grabs Shane, goes to hit a choke slam, but he gets cut off by 3 count, and then Shane super kicks him, and Wall falls off the apron through the table, so he goes through that. So he's out of commission for just a little bit here. Loco catches Shannon off the top rope and hits a power bomb, which looked pretty bad. pretty nasty looking power bomb off the top there. 3 count tries a triple suplex, but the guys counter into a double DDT for a 2. And then Wall is able to break up a pinning attempt. He pulls kind of all the 3 count guys to break up a pin attempt. And then Cajun, he hits what looked like, I couldn't really tell, it looked kind of like the Future Shock, like Chris Staben did. It was very similar to that. It's kind of this TKO into like a Michinoku driver kind of thing. It kind of looked like the Future Shock is what I wrote, is kind of what it looked like. But he hits that on Shane and gets the 3 count. So, at least there weren't any shenanigans. There was no other extra run-ins or anything. It was a pretty straightforward sort of trios match. I thought for what it was, pretty decent, pretty good little match, and one of the probably the best match on the show for a little while, I would say. What'd you think, Richie?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really good. Most of his work is pretty good. When the Wall came in, wasn't he didn't they immediately put him on a program with Hulk Hogan?
They immediately did, because that's where the famous thing of it's the Wall, brother, as he's looking at him, from a skyscraper miles away.
and now he's sort of like, he said his purpose here, but he's in like a sort of comedy group now. it's like it wasn't named that long ago, and now he's like in Misfits in Action. It's like, okay, you've gone from like what they thought was going to be a main event, kind of spot to being the second match on the card. But I do like the match. The only thing that slightly annoyed me, and it's just a bit, but like at one point 3 count, I said that the 3 count did have the 3 count. The referee was distracted. I feel like that's a babyface spot. Like, you don't do that with the heels, or you make me feel bad for the heels. but then the babyface had an unknown victory there, but. That's a minor nitpick, but I thought the match was, well worked and really good.
Yeah, you could literally do this trios match like on AEW, like on Collision, and it'd be almost exactly the same, and it'd be all right. So yeah, decent match for what it was. So we cut to a kid backstage, waiting for superstars to come around the corner, looking for autographs. And who's the first person he runs into, Richie?
A wild slapnuts appears. Double J, Jeff Jarrett.
Because Jeff Jarrett is the first one to come around the corner. Because it is Slapnuts, Jeff Jarrett. So he's the first one to come around. He just kind of blows him off, like kind of, get out of my way, kid. Scott Steiner comes around the corner and asks him if he has a mother, and if so, where is she? I guess presumably to have sex with her. Because literally his character around this time was just trying to fuck anything that moves, essentially. Yeah, he's just horny and large and just roided up. And I swear to God, that's what his character was around this time. He just had sex with anybody. And so he kind of does that, blows him off. And then Kevin Nash comes around the corner and asks for money for the kid for the autograph. And ask him how much money he has. He has like $1.50. Tells him to go buy a soda, and he blows him off. So again, okay, here's the three assholes on the show, I guess. That was the point. Guys, we are assholes.
The thing I took away from it was like, man, 2000 sodas are cheap. No, you can't buy a soda for that much anymore.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, he had $1.50. You probably get like 3 sodas. They might have still been 50 cents back then. I don't know. So, or at least $1. I mean, now it's like $2 or $2.50 just for a can. But yeah, so we go to our third match here. As we're gonna have a chain match initially. It's gonna be the Heresies, as Vincent very high likes to call them on the Brian Benny Show. The Heresies, the Harris brothers of Big Ron and Ron and Don, taking on Chronic, Brian Clark and Brian Adams, Ron and Heavy D, I should say, but whatever, it's the Harris brothers. And right before the match, Brian Adams wants to make it a first blood chain match, so the first one to bleed will lose, and the Harris is kind of, I guess they could just add stipulations without, approval of management. All right, fine.
And
sure.
We'll get into it. You think if they added stipulation to fuck with the heels that they would win, but they fucking lost.
No, they look like geeks because then they lose. But anyways, so yeah, Ron immediately, they kind of go to the outside. Ron whips one of the guys into Dave Pinzer and wipes him out almost immediately, the ring announcer. Like they're just whipping people into like the timekeepers and whatnot, wipes some of them out. They're kind of brawling around the guardrails, whipping each other into the guardrails. Brian Adams and Heavy D kind of brawl by the announcers. Clark and Big Ron kind of go into the crowd. They just sort of brawl around the crowd for a little while. There's not much going on. They kind of brawl into the crowd for a minute. They kind of come back to ringside. They throw us into the stairs. Clark gets a chair, kind of hits some rib shots here and there. They kind of brawl some more around ringside. Inside the ring, Heavy D chokes Brian Adams with the chain. And then there's a ref bump. Why?
Well, it doesn't need to be a ref bump.
Well, I mean, I guess it's for the finish, but like, I hate ref bumps in matches where there's no DQ. Like, that's always stupid. So the ref gets wiped out. Adams hits a stunner on Heavy D. So Ron is bleeding, but of course the ref is knocked out, so he doesn't see Ron bleeding. And then he gets a chain bat. I was like, what? What is this? A chain bat that has a chain wrap around it? I was like, I thought it was a barbed wire bat at first, but it's like a chain bat. I was like, okay, because I guess that hurts more than just a regular bat. But he hits both the Chronic members. He hits Clark. He hits Adams. Adams starts to bleed from the shots, and the referee comes to and sees Adams bleeding and calls for the bell because Ron is on the outside, kind of hiding himself. So the Heresies win the match because the ref saw Chronic bleeding. And then after the match, they give a high times choke slam to Billy Silverman, the ref. And then pretty much as soon as he gets choke slammed, it's to the back. So kind of pointless. The worst match on the show so far. Just kind of just nothing happening brawl with a silly stipulation, and just we still had a screw job finish, even in a first blood chain match, which was dumb. But your thoughts on this one, Richie? As I know Fern is bugging you to play.
Right now. He shouldn't be hypo, but whatever.
Yeah. Anyways. Yes.
I mean, going into the match, I mean these four, Brian Adams and Brian Clark were okay workers back in the day, but at this point, this is not far, but not far before they would go in WWE and had that really bad match against Brothers of Destruction. So they weren't great at this point, and Harris Brothers were never wonderful. So I'm like, I don't have much expectations for it. And then there wasn't. It was just a whole bunch of like, I hit you with a chair, run around, hit you.
I'll whip you into the guardrail. You whip me into the guardrail. I chop you near the crowd. You chop me near the crowd.
Near the crowd.
Yeah, whatever.
Throw near Dave Penzer, who I don't even know if he was probably clued into that was going to happen.
Anyway. No, it did not seem like he was. He just ducked for cover and got squashed.
It's a match, but yes, I don't like. Usually, if I don't know, just psychology wise, if a babyface makes a stipulation, we should wear it.
Yeah. No, because we got to keep getting heat. We got to get to heat. More heat. The heels won a lot tonight, so a lot of heels winning.
Just on Dave Penzer, like it's weird that I always found it weird that happens with TNA as well. Like I feel like the music and all the production overpowers, so you can actually when Dave Penzer's doing the announcing, you can actually hear it properly.
Yeah, it was a little inaudible. Yeah, for the most part, you hear like the last bit of it. So yeah, but yeah, we go to our backstage for one of our backstage people. We go to Pamela Paulshock, who was all over all these shows all the time. And so Pamela Paulshock and her boobs, yes, because Vince Russo was obsessed with just blondes with big boobs, or just any ladies with big boobs on the show. She's with General Huge Erection. That's his name. Don't tweet.
When she said that, my support worker walked in. I'm like, please, why do people that has to happen? Every time a bad thing happens, somebody walks in. I'm like, no,
his name's General. His name's Huge Erection. That's his name.
His name's Huge. Huge Erection. Yeah. I am supposed to take him seriously. Yeah.
No, they mostly call him General Erection, but his name is General Huge Erection. She's with him, asked about kind of, getting back at Lance Storm, possibly regaining the U.S. title and trying to get Major Guns back. He basically just cuts kind of a rah-rah America promo. I'm going to do it for America. I'm going to bring back the title, back to the U.S. He dedicates this match to his hero, Jim Duggan, who then steps in front of the camera. He is the guest enforcer for the show tonight. And he does a very obvious heel turn. Yeah, no, very, very obvious one that you can see coming a mile away, as opposed to the other swerves, which made no sense. A lot of the times where people just swerve for no reason, like on Nitros or whatever, there'd just be swerves just for swerve's sake.
One we'll get to in this later on the show. I thought was weird.
It's true. But yeah, I mean, he does this thing, America, whatever. So it's all pretty standard stuff. So we've got kind of our setup for our next match, which is for the U.S. title. We got the champion Lance Storm taking on General Erection. Lance Storm is also once again out there with Major Guns. He gets on the microphone, does his if I could be serious for a minute promo. He invites the entire crowd to come up to Canada and says, we'll welcome you. Basically just kind of runs down Buffalo, New York, kind of a standard, sort of a thing there. He plays the O Canada national anthem. And then Storm kind of attacks Erection as soon as he gets in the ring, has some chops. There's no effects. He gets chopped himself with his big back body drop. Erection tosses Lance outside. Lance tries a crucifix, but gets dropped into that almost like a Samoan drop. There's another low blow for a cutoff. I swear to God, I've already written that 3 times, but he does. Erection hits an avalanche in the corner, but Storm kind of comes back with a big body slam. Up top, there's a big superplex. There you're good. There's a superplex on Lance Storm, and then another low blow right in front of the referee. The referee does not call for the bell. It's not a DQ. There's a super kick to General Erection, but only for a 2 count. Erection goes to the outside, and Storm hits a big crossbody splash to him on the back. Back in, Erection tries to fight back, hits a jawbreaker. But then Erection hits a big power slam, but only gets a 2 count. He hits a gut wrench power bomb for a 2 count as well. But Storm kind of fights back with a dragon screw takeover and puts on the maple leaf. But Erection is able to bounce out of it. Disgusting German suplex that Lance landed right on his head with this release German. Oh my God, it looked bad. He just tossed him really far back, and Lance landed.
Jesus Christ,
that looked really, really bad. Yeah, that was really bad. Storm kind of rolls out. Duggan throws him back in. Rection goes up for the moonsault, but yes, and like you said, in the most obvious swerve ever, as Duggan is just standing there going rah rah, with the thing as Rection's getting set up for his moonsault, he hits him in the back with the 2x4, that dastardly Duggan, and then Lance is able to put on the maple leaf, and Rection is kind of passed out, and it's called for the bell. So yeah, Duggan then rips off his shirt. He's got a Canadian shirt on underneath, and then MIA tries to come out to make the save, but Duggan lays them all out with the 2x4. And yes, Jim Duggan is now Canadian and supports Canada. And just to follow up, if the next night on Nitro, they were actually in Canada. So he's supposed to be doing this promo about how America turned his back on him, but he's getting cheered because they're in Canada and he joined the Canadian faction.
So can you make sure you're not in Canada the next week?
Yes. So so they're cheering him as he's cutting this anti-American program. Although I will say this. He makes one point, because I listened to the Brian and Vinny show after that in the promo, that made sense. He said that when they brought him in, he was a janitor and nobody cared about him. He then said when he got his opportunity to face Goldberg and tried to overcome the odds against bad guy Goldberg, what did he hear after Goldberg beat him? Nothing but Goldberg chants. The crowd turned on him. He makes a point. It makes a point, Richie, that people stop caring about him. So he's not technically wrong. So as stupid as it is, it's not. Actually, within storyline, it kind of makes a little bit of a sense, but it's still kind of silly that you have Jim Duggan. And by the way, and the next night on Nitro, he showed up. He had cut his hair and trimmed his beard, and nobody recognized him backstage at all. He's talked about this. He sat at catering all day, and nobody. Go look up pictures of Jim Duggan without it, and I swear you'll think it's a different person. I'll try to pull a picture real quick. But what do you think of this whole match, this whole thing?
Yeah, I think it was well worked at match. I feel like I'll just call him Hugh Morris. Hugh Morris is all right. But I think obviously the credit has to be where you get a lot of Storm. He worked a good match here. Obviously the heel turn came from a mile away here. I think they're probably expecting the crowd to to explode into uproarious boos, akin to when Hogan joined the NWO or something. Instead, the crowd were just like, that was because it was probably very obvious that was what's going to happen, and what was going to happen happened. Yeah.
He looks like somebody. He looks like a comedic actor. I can't picture it. What does he look like? He looks like somebody. I can't place it though. He almost looks like Nick Frost or something. I don't know. Like he's just there's something there. I can't quite place it, but apparently he did this. He showed up to Nitro like this, and then nobody recognized him and said hi to him. So there you go. Kind of an infamous thing, but in theory, not the worst thing, because it actually kind of made sense storyline wise. So I don't know, it's fine, whatever. Not the worst heel turn I ever saw. But anyways, we move on. Mean Gene is with all 18 members or whatever of the Natural Born Thrillers in this one area. They're all squeezed into this backstage area. He immediately just starts running them down and calling them piss ants. And
and just blow it out your ass.
yeah. Later he says he goes right to Sean O'Haire. Sean O'Haire says something. He tells him to blow it out your ass. Like, I don't know what got into Mean Gene, but he's like going toe to toe verbally with all these guys. Mike Sanders says something about cranberries and strawberries. I have no idea what he's talking about. Different bunch of different guys are chiming in. I have no idea what happened in this promo. It was just
keep in mind Mike Sanders. I don't know if you know this. After wrestling, or maybe it was during, maybe it was winding down his wrestling career. He did actually get to stand-up comedy for a bit. So.
Yeah. I mean, I guess. I mean, he's not bad on the microphone, but I just.
But yeah, I've always never known how to feel about I like that sort of when backstage, and that's just sort of make me stick out for himself. But maybe I felt like sometimes Mean Gene takes it overboard, where it's like, oh yeah, there's a difference between sticking out for yourself and emasculating the people that you fucking interview.
Right. So we have an elimination match. I don't know how many people because I have no idea how many people are on the team of the Natural Born Thrillers. Who's actually in the match and who's not? I have no clue.
Yeah, because I was saying, Mike Sanders hasn't tagged in the match yet, but then like Mike Sanders is on commentary, so I don't know. And then
I have no idea. And then on the 5th anniversary, there's 6 people plus Tigress. So, like, I don't know if is it 7-on-7. I don't know how many people are in there. As far as I can tell, for the Filthy Animals representing them, it's Disco Inferno, Rey Mysterio, Juventud Guerrera, Conan, Big Vito, Tigress, and their mystery partner Paul Orndorff in 2000. So, yeah, we'll get to Paul Orndorff.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, that was a bad idea, as we'll get to in a little bit. And as far as I can tell for the Thrillers, Jindrak O'Hare, Mike Sanders, who was he? Yeah, did he even tag in? Well, I can't remember.
He never tagged in, but he got up from the announcers table to use that stupid bat.
But Stasiak was on commentary too, like at one point. I think.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on. It's like Jindrak O'Hare, Palumbo, Stasiak, Reno, and Johnny the Bull, I think. I don't know. Again, there's 17 guys out here. I have no idea who's actually in the match and who's not. It's very strange. I literally don't know. The announcers have no idea because if Sanders on commentary, they're like, "Aren't you supposed to be in this match right now?" I don't know. Whatever. But it doesn't matter anyways because the Born Thrillers just make the Filthy Animals look like a bunch of geeks this whole match anyway. So we'll talk about it. We start out with Jindrak and Ray. There's a suplex. Ray kind of slides outside, hits a Hangman's guillotine leg drop. Jindrak hits a tilt-a-whirl slam, which he would go back to a couple of times, actually. O'Hare then tags in and hits a standing power slam for 2. Hoovy comes in, hits a missile drop kick. O'Hare catches Hoovy and hits a Falcon Arrow. That's a pretty good spot. And again, O'Hare, I like him. He's a big, strong dude who can move. You know, I always like him. I always thought he had a good look and a good body.
It does remind me of a Mike Awesome type dude.
Yeah. He could have been the next Mike Awesome, but like unfortunately, his career, even when he went to WWE, just kind of never really went anywhere. And it's really unfortunate. But Jindrak is then in with Big Vito, who gets a tag. Vito hits a leg drop, and he's starting to work over Jindrak, but Disco blind tags himself in. He comes in, gets clotheslined and slammed by Jindrak, so he immediately looks like a geek for coming in and getting slammed immediately. O'Hare then hits a leapfrog drop kick and a super kick. And then Disco hits a swinging neck breaker, tags in Conan. Conan hits his rolling kind of lariat that he would hit a lot, and a face buster, so just doing kind of a couple of his signature things. But O'Hare comes in and clotheslines him to cut him off. Conan then runs into the back of Disco, and Disco thinks, while his back is turned, Disco thinks it's one of the Thrillers, so he hits a chart buster stunner, and O'Hare takes advantage of that and pins Conan for the 3 count, so Conan is eliminated.
This is when the animals start being stupid.
They all start being really, really dumb, and they all start getting eliminated like one after another.
Okay, that's annoying, right? That is annoying. But hey, let's just get along. But no, we have the numbers disadvantage, so let's just punch.
Punch each other. So Johnny the Bull finally comes in. Hits a spine buster Disco. He misses a top rope leg drop. And then Vito punches Disco on his again punches his own partner because of the miscommunication. And because of that, Disco then runs into Reno, who hits the roll of the dice on Disco and immediately gets eliminated. He was one of the first guys to do that. It's basically the Crossroads. But I remember him being one of the first guys to ever use that move. So
that move was like used, At one point, that was a move that was other people's finisher. I know Luther Reigns had it. I know Test was a Test Drive.
Test Drive. Yeah, but I think Reno was the first guy I think to use it, or at least came up with it. So that was pretty cool. But it looked pretty cool on the show because he hits one on Disco, eliminates him. Vito then comes in and faces off with Reno, who had kind of they had an off and on feud for the hardcore title for a little while. Vito hits a mafia kick to Reno, and Vito hits kind of an impaler DDT to Palumbo for a 2. Again, I don't remember who's tagging it out. He just was hitting moves on people. I don't know what's going on. People are just coming in and out. I have no idea who's legal, who's not. I don't know. Vito then gets that dreaded stickball bat again, which was one of his things. Again with the stickball bat, he gets.
That gets me thinking, like, hey, you can't use that; you'll get disqualified.
I guess it's legal because again they bring in a kendo stick as well, or just using that. I don't know. And then all I wrote was I have no idea how Reno got in, but he hits another roll of the dice and eliminates Vito. So he
hit the roll of the dice after Vito just randomly started. I think he just taunted the crowd for no reason.
It was something, and Reno just comes up behind him, hits him with a roll of dice and pins him.
I'm like, you're an idiot, Vito.
I don't know. So so Hoovy comes back in. He hits a couple moves to Reno, tags in Ray. They try to double team Reno. Hoovy hits a Hoovy driver on Reno, and then Ray around this time was just for his finishing move was just doing different things to people's nuts. which is not a DQ, but he was just doing that as finishing moves. So he hits a leg drop off the top rope to Reno's nuts for the 3 count. That's literally what he did. I swear to God, that's what happened. And that's not a DQ. So, once again, things that are not DQs. So he pins Reno. He's eliminated. Hoovy, tries to dive on a bunch of the Thrillers, but he gets caught. Jindrak and O'Haire kind of do some double. This was the one cool spot. They were on the outside with Hoovy, and they double hip toss Hoovy from the outside of the ring back into the ring over the ropes.
Yeah,
that was cool.
That was cool.
That was really cool. Like, they tossed the shit out of him. And I literally, holy shit. Like, that was pretty awesome. Again, I like Jindrak and O'Haire as a tag team. They were a pretty good little tag team. I wish they had gone further, even in WWE. But O'Haire hits a swanton on Hoovy after that for a 3 count. So Hoovy is eliminated. Paul Orndorff then comes in. And I'll give him credit, though. He was in shape. Like, he looked good, like, body-wise. Like, he was jacked.
His body always looked, like, weird, because it's like he had, that shoulder injury where his, like, left side is atrophied. So it's like he's got, like, one side that's jacked, and then the left arm is sort of, like, a bit, like, smaller, I guess.
Yeah, which is probably why he starts throwing right hands instead of left hands, because he can't really use his left arm that much. But he hits some right hands. He gets hit with a kendo stick. Again, that kendo stick again. But Paul's able to grab the kendo stick and hit Johnny the Bull with it. And then he pile drives Johnny the Bull for a 3 count. So Johnny the Bull is eliminated from that pile driver, which, again, it was a pretty good looking pile driver. Give him credit where credit's due. It looked pretty good. And then Jindrak and O'Haire, they try to double team Paul, but they can't. O'Haire tries a jumping roundhouse. Again, he used to throw those, like, big jumping roundhouse kicks that always looked pretty good too. Yeah, dude was agile. He could do martial arts. Like, he was the whole package. Should have used him more. He was good. But he counters that. Paul hits kind of a running knee lift, and then he hits Jindrak with the pile driver, and this is where he hurts himself. He gets a stinger on the way down. So he did something to his neck to where it didn't, like, permanently injure him, but he got a snuff of a stinger apparently behind the scenes to where he couldn't feel his arms and stuff. Like, he thought he was paralyzed. So that's why he's just laying there, just very stiff, there. So O'Haire then just covers him for a 3 count. This was, again, a legitimate neck injury. He's just laying there. They're very concerned.
It took me a while to realize that, okay, this was legitimate. And then, I was like, okay.
No, I mean, so they try to, like, Ray is, like, trying to work with, like, Jindrak. Like, they're trying to do, like, Bronco Busters and a few things on, like, the other side of the ring. Like, they keep trying to do stuff. And then I even, you can even hear it actually on, there's a camera shot, and then you hear somebody go, "What's wrong with Orndorff?" Like, somebody from ringside or whatever. So Charles Robinson's, like, trying to ref the match, but also trying to go in there. And eventually they realize it's serious, and he just calls the match, and that's it. So the match is a no contest. He just throws the whole thing out. I'll give you a little behind the scenes for the next night on Nitro. The next night on Nitro, they pick up the match where it left off.
What? So Rey Mysterio versus...
It's Rey Mysterio and Tigress versus, like, 5 of the Thrillers. And then Tigress ends up pinning, like, Jindrak. And then, like, Rey and Tigress win that match and make them look like total geeks.
Okay.
So further burying them on the next night on Nitro. So that's really, really bad. Again...
was that I guess that was a planned finish for this show?
I don't know. Maybe it was going to be a big comeback thing where Ray and Tigress run wild on them. I don't know. But yeah, anyways, the EMTs eventually kind of tend to Orndorff and, wrap him up, put him in the neck braces and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, an unfortunate finish, with a legitimate injury, thinking thrown out. But I don't know. What do you think of this whole thing kind of before that?
I mean, yeah, it was like, I think the work rate was good, but yeah, this is where I was getting confused about, like, rules, because there's, like, I think it was Orndorff hit when he hit the kendo stick on was it Johnny the Bull's head. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. And then that was when the commentators are confused. I'm like, oh, I guess there's no rules then. Yeah, all right. Well,
no, I guess it's only pin and submission. I guess is
you can just do anything. All right. But yeah, it was all right. But yeah, the natural born kills weren't made to look, that they came in as geeks, and I feel like even that the finish didn't go how it was booked. I think they were still gonna, even though they had the advantage. I didn't think they were booked overly strong, but either the Filthy Animals weren't booked strong either. I thought each team looked kind of bad here, and from a intelligence point of view, and your booking point of view. But yeah, like the work rate's there. I like Sean O'Hara. I like Chuck Palumbo. I like Mark Jindrak. Yeah, it is weird that those who always does the storylines with like, the young arrogant guys versus the old veterans, and the old veterans, always the baby faces. But yeah, I don't know. It was good, but yeah, obviously, WCW booking got in the way, and obviously an unfortunate injury.
Yeah, so it is what it is. Some stuff that's kind of out of their hands in this one. But yeah, we then go to Pamela Paulshock again, who's with Shane Douglas and Tori Wilson, and then or I think was he with Kim? He was with Kim.
He was with Kim and Medusa.
Kim and Medusa first, yeah, and then I think she went.
And then they just proceeded to call Tori Wilson a bitch 5 times.
Yeah, this was around the time where Shane Douglas and all these things. Yeah, they were doing this bitch gimmick where they just call women bitches over and over again because Vince Russo hates women, so they're all bitches because that's what they did. She did make a flub here where Pamela says, Kim and Medusa, you're competing against a scaffold match tonight.
Against a scaffold match.
And I went, what? So, I was like, all right. Well, I mean, I guess technically they were competing against the scaffold. I don't know. But yeah, they do a promo. There's bitch this, bitch that. I don't know. Bitch, whatever.
Bitch. So, and yeah. And then it's like, I'm going to, it's like, I'm going to demoralize you. I'm like, what? You're just going to like. It just felt like you're going to beat her in a debate or something. But anyway,
yeah, I don't know. It was bitch that, whatever. I didn't write it all down. But yes, we have a scaffold match as we got Shane Douglas and Tori Wilson competing against Kidman and Medusa and her. It
just felt like a bad episode of Gladiators.
Dude, this was bad. This is such a waste of time. So they're on like this ramp on the entranceway that gets kind of lifted up very slowly to about 20-25 feet, whatever it is, very, very slowly. Again, the announcers have no idea what the rules are, and neither do I. It's like they're saying that they first say you have to throw your opponents off the scaffold, but then they're also saying you could also get to the ladder and just climb down off the scaffold to win. I have no idea. Even when the match is over, they have no idea who's won, and I don't either.
And Tori and Medusa got first, right? So in theory, they could just climb down.
Yeah, I don't know why people don't just immediately climb down the ladder. Like it's weird. I don't know. So I have no idea what the rules are. Whatever. The platform is extremely unstable. By the way, they're trying to do moves on this thing, and I was terrified because it was shaking as they were doing these moves. Every time they do a slam, it was like shaking up and down. It was bouncing all over the place. This looked incredibly dangerous. So they're just kind of brawling back and forth. Medusa kicks Shane. He kind of hangs her near the side and tries to toss her off, but gets cut off. There's an STF on Medusa by Shane. Again, I don't know why. You're doing like submissions. Okay. Shane hits a power slam on Kidman on the scaffold. Kidman counters a pile driver into a back body drop. Kidman hits a sky high on Shane Douglas on this thing, which looked incredibly dangerous. Again, the way it's shaking all over the place, but he hit one. Medusa, again, then starts climbing down the ladder. There's a Frankensteiner to Kidman. But again, Shane and Medusa are then on the ladder. There's a low blow. Again, another low blow, because that was the go-to on this damn show, which is low blows all over the place. But again, then Medusa gets kicked off this ladder. She falls straight backwards. She's about 10 feet off the ground, falls very, very evenly, nice and cushy onto a nice crash pad, and then acts like she's dead.
Yeah. Well, the announcers were like when they just seen like Shane Douglas give her an STF and all that stuff, and then they're admonishing Shane Douglas. Oh, he's kicking her in the head. I'm like, he's trying to yank him off the fucking structure. Yeah. I don't know. It's like, I think he's done worse in this match. And then they tried to sell. It's like, oh, there's no give in that. There's no give in those matches. I'm like, are you gaslighting? It's like it's almost like a mattress. They fell into a
no, she literally falls on it and she bounces a little bit off the damn thing.
Mattress.
yeah. She falls on it and there's a little bounce and then she just lays there like she's dead for like 10 minutes.
Don't gaslight me telling me that it's dangerous and there's no give.
Yeah, no, like, oh, what a devastating fall. That's stupid. There's another low blow in this match. It's, I think, Tori low blowed Kidman. So you get another one even in this match. And then Shane tosses Kidman off the scaffold onto the other side, kind of onto the extended sort of stage crash pad, which again was still looked incredibly soft, like he was jumping on one of those just things at a trampoline park or something, just one of those like just completely, like you said, like gladiators when they fall off the joust or something, just one of those like crash pad things. Like he just falls onto that and that's it, and acts like he's dead.
And they still there's now still like, oh my god,
he's dead. Oh my god, it's like, no, that was obviously like the gladiator thing, like the clown crash pad. He just, I mean, it was higher. I'll give him that. Like Kidman took a nice like fall off of there, like it looked good, but yeah, the crash pad just made it completely obvious. And I wrote, this is a big waste of time. I don't know what you think.
When Jericho fell off the cage in AEW and the obvious crash pad, that looked better than this.
Yes, it looked really bad, but yeah. Do you agree with me? This is a big waste of time because 7 minutes.
Kidman and Medusa look like geeks. they basically got destroyed. Like they basically got destroyed in this match, and and it was just like, and apparently Kidman was like, I don't know, kayfabe coming back from injury, or maybe he was coming back from injury. So okay, cool, he'll win. No, he just fucking, what a loser! Like what way to push a guy anyway.
So we go back to Mean Gene again. He's with Sting. Sting starts to cut a promo, then all of a sudden
a wild slapnuts appears. Double J, Jeff Jarrett.
Get off my TV.
Because apparently Jeff Jarrett in WCW this time was feuding with everybody.
Get off my TV.
because it makes no sense, Richie. He's got a match with Mike Awesome tonight, but he's attacking Sting, and like he's just attacking everybody, and like I don't know, I have no idea what's going on. Like I didn't know, like you already have a match. Like what the hell are you doing?
I was going crazy. It's like there was an episode of Brian Vinny probably was like I don't know, maybe I'm reviewing an Nitro from a couple of years back, probably this one. But when like Mean Gene was on the episode for like 7 times, and Vinny was just got just like, go away,
Mean Gene, Jesus.
And I feel like the same thing. I'm like, go away. I've seen Jeff Jarrett heaps times now. Are you gonna have a match or not? Fucking.
We then go to a very bizarre pre-tape segment as Mike Tenay goes to David Flair's house. So there's a storyline
at his house.
There's a storyline, if you don't know, where Stacy Keibler is pregnant and she doesn't know, or she says she knows she either says she knows who the dad is or doesn't know who the dad is, or David doesn't know. I don't know.
She lied that she said that David Flair was the dad, and he found out
and he's not the dad, so he's trying to find out who the dad is. Okay, whatever. So David's doing his David Flair thing. Mike Tenay goes to his house, and immediately it doesn't make any sense. David opens the door and goes, "Are you alone?" And Mike Tenay says, "Yes," but there's a cameraman there, so he's not alone. So immediately it doesn't make any sense. But he buys it, and they go into the house. It's like the house is covered in like, pizza boxes and beer cans, and it's a mess, like the typical like depressed guy, bachelor pad where there's just food and garbage everywhere. And then he's just droning on and on about David, this thing could wreak havoc on your mental health. What kind of state are you in? And David keeps looking out the window, and he's like just acting like, all weird and paranoid.
He's like, it could be my brother. He's like, that's ridiculous. Reed is 11 years old.
No, here's the thing that makes sense about that. He said it could be Reed. Mike Tenay goes, "Who's Reed?" And then Davey goes, "My little brother, Reed. Reed's 11 years old." Wait, you just said you didn't know who Reed was. Now you know he's 11 years old? What?
So, and he should know. I feel like he should know who Reed is, because
Reed had a match.
Reed's had a match in the company.
Reed had a match in the company. They booked him in a fucking match against David. There was Reed versus David Flair on a pay-per-view, and Reed was in multiple promos with Ric Flair. There was a whole family thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's been on TV plenty of times. Of all people, Mike Tenay, you should know who Reed Flair is. Okay? You know who random lucha guys are that come in for one match. You should know who Reed Flair is. So it makes no sense. But yeah, he says that. Mike Tenay says something about, have you asked if Rick is the dad? Because Rick is, Rick is Rick, so I guess, I don't know. I guess it's possible. But anyways, it goes on forever. David eventually says, I know who the dad is. Like, I know who the dad is. He's coming. The dad's coming. He peeks out the window. He runs out the door. the mailman starts rocking up with his own cameraman. Apparently, there's a cameraman with the mailman, so there's another cameraman, and then he walks up to say hello to David because they know each other or something.
Yeah, hi David, I'm the mailman. Like,
hi David, I'm mailman. David immediately
who gets like first name basis with their mailman? I don't know.
Unless you're in a very, very small town and there's like one mailman, just everybody knows him. Hey, Chuck the mailman. I don't know. The one mail guy in a town of 20 people. I don't know. Maybe in that case you would know him, but it doesn't look like that. He clotheslines the mailman and puts him in a figure 4 on the lawn.
And he's like, he broke my leg. And we get a doctor. And we're supposed to take that seriously and not think that's a comedy. And that was so. And this thing was hilarious, but I'm not supposed to think it's hilarious, but it was very funny.
It was very funny. He clotheslined a mailman and put him in a figure 4 on the front lawn.
Figure 4 leg lock on the lawn is funny.
Yeah, that was funny. And then Mike's trying to get him off, and that's how it ends. So, I believe this eventually ended in a DNA match, if I'm not wrong. Which I still don't know what a DNA match is, but yeah, there was like a DNA match. I'll tell you who he should have suspected as the dad, because he goes around, or there's 2 people he should have suspected. 2 people on this show that go around fucking anything that moves. We'll talk about it.
I know.
And another guy who drives around in a love bus all day.
Oh yeah.
Trying to make love to a bunch of women. He should have questioned those 2 and see if they're the father, because they're all over the women on this show. But anyways, we'll get to them. So we finally get, and then Sting comes out. Jeff Jarrett attacks him, but he's not facing Jeff Jarrett. Sting is facing Vampiro and the Dark Carnival in a triple threat match, not a handicap match, but a triple threat match. So, okay. And so the Dark Carnival comes out with ICP as well. They jump on commentary. They spend the whole time on commentary putting over JCW and the JCW title. That's what they do the whole time. And Mark Van's going, JCW. It's just, they're just there to put themselves over and put over their promotion. So anyways, Vampiro jumps Sting on the ramp. Muta does as well. They're just kind of doubles teaming Sting for a while. They toss him into the rails. They brawl into the crowd a little bit. They bring him back in. Muta hits Sting in the ribs with a chair. I mean, this one at least is a triple threat match, so that makes sense that there's no disqualification in a triple threat. That's kind of inherent because it's not a handicap; it's a triple threat. So okay, Vampiro hits Sting with a kendo stick. Muta then has a bunch of kicks to Sting in the ribs. Sting tries to hit a Stinger splash, but he misses, and then he gets hit with a second rope clothesline by Vampiro. There's a back suplex on Sting. Muta then goes to the top, hits his big moonsault, but only gets to 2 because Vampiro breaks it up. And, of course, they immediately start to fight because, God forbid Muta try to get a pin, which, again, aren't they on the same faction? Why are they breaking this up? Does it matter who gets the pin if they're in the same faction?
That was my issue. That was when I was like, they're doing weird turn. It's like, why is Muta mad? Because there's no stakes in this match either. And
I mean, it's technically a triple threat, but they're in the same thing. They're both trying to beat up Sting, so would it matter who pins him? I don't know. It's dumb. Then immediately ICP come in to interfere because why not? Sting is able to get his bat. He kind of waffles all the guys with the bat and clears the ring, and then hits a Scorpion Death Drop on Muta and gets the 3 count. And then eventually ICP and Vampiro go to attack Muta, but Sting saves Muta from this ICP clown attack, and then they walk off together. Okay.
Why?
Why? I don't know. Because everything's a twerp on this show.
It goes to
I wrote another 5-minute waste of time is what I wrote my notes.
Yeah, because Sting, he's one of the biggest names in wrestling history, and it's a Sting match, and the crowd couldn't give a shit.
No, because they don't care. And I think he continued this Vampiro stuff with the torch match. And,
the Vampiro, fire.
First torch match. There was the graveyard thing where you couldn't see anything because they didn't know how to light it.
I think did he watch one of those? I think we watched
one of those. Yeah, they had the graveyard thing. We literally could not tell what was going on because it was in pitch black and they didn't know how to light it. That was bad. This feud was not good. So it's whatever. I don't know. Anything else to say about it? It was a waste of time.
No, just why the random too many people on commentary thing again? It's like And then like, they're all the ICP are like running down Tony Schiavone for whatever, you know. He's like, oh, no, and purposely getting his name wrong. And then like they go in the ring, and then Tony Schiavone's just there. I'm like, oh, okay. And then so that's distracting. And then there's all this match that does not, you know, the work rate could be good, but you know that's not what the booking allows. And then it's just and then like you're left going, okay, cool. We could have had a good match, but you had to ruin it with dumb booking. Okay.
Yeah. We then see Pamela with Mike Awesome by his love bus, because this is that 70s guy, Mike Awesome, which he's fully into now, which stinks. They had a back and forth thing where Awesome kept trying to get with Pamela the previous couple of weeks on Nitro, so at least they kept that going a little bit. But he starts to just drop a couple of his lines, and all of a sudden Gary Coleman comes down. Gary Coleman comes down the stairs of the love bus. He's with Mike Awesome, and they try to get him to say what you talking about, and he won't say it, but Pamela says it. And then that's it.
Good use of money, WCW. That's hemorrhaging money at this point. That's still...
well, they did make one funny reference where he's that 70s guy. He thinks Different Strokes was a 70s show, but it was an 80s show, and Gary Coleman points that out. He's like, actually, that's the 80s, but I guess good, fine idea. I guess I get what I'm going for. Like, because again, I mean, I almost guarantee Vince Russo booked this, didn't realize Different Strokes was an 80s show, and thought it was
and then almost like locked himself into a good joke.
Yeah. I could almost guarantee that he thought it was from the 70s and it was from the 80s. So that's what we had. So then we go to our next match, which does actually involve Mike Awesome, and he's taking on
a wild slapnuts appears. Double J.
Played it 3 times already. It's fine.
He's just having a match this time, and there's a purpose, and he's not just randomly just infiltrating segments.
So it's Double J Jeff Jarrett versus that 70s guy Mike Awesome in a bunkhouse brawl. So there's random weapons all over the ring. There's a broom, there's a branding iron, there's a strap, and then amongst all that, there's a barbed wire table. I was like, okay, that was the odd thing out that I was like, oh, all of a sudden there's a barbed wire table propped up in the corner. Okay, so Jeff Jarrett comes out. He's wearing a Tennessee Titans jersey because the Buffalo Bills football team is in the front row at ringside. So there's about 9 of these guys in the front row. We'll get to them in a second because they come into play. But he runs down the Bills. It's a bunch of football references. I'm sure you didn't understand, Richie, from like 2000.
No, just cool. It's an old heel tactic.
And just running down the local guys, running down the local sports team, whatever. It's the
as local Australian wrestling does it. If you're in they'll run down like the local sports town. It's just your classic.
Typical classic, yeah. So we do. So Mike Awesome comes out. They start to brawl at ringside. Mike hits him with a shovel. They whip him into the rails a couple of times. He chokes Jeff Jarrett with a rope. Getting a flood alert on my phone. Anyways, Jeff Jarrett then grabs the strap and whips Mike with it a couple of times. Hits him with he grabs the broom and he hits him with the bristles. That wouldn't hurt. That's dumb.
Why did you hit him with a handle?
And then he finally hits him with a handle, but at first he just jabbed him with the bristles. I'm like, that was stupid.
That just kind of tickled.
So Mike then grabs the branding iron and kind of gut shots him with the branding iron a couple of times. They do the dueling kind of chair spots where they do like a sword fight with the chairs a little bit. Mike eventually hits Jarrett in the back a couple of times with the chair. At ringside, Mike then sets up a table on the inside. They're on a top rope. He goes for the power bomb, but Jeff Jarrett back body drops Awesome onto the table. And then eventually he picks him back up. Mike goes to whip Jarrett, and he whips him into the barbed wire table twice, and the table doesn't break. So it just another hard barbed wire table that one is. He gets to it twice and just pops out of there. But then Awesome hits a sit-out powerbomb, but only gets a 2. He goes up top rope for the splash, but he misses the splash. And then all of a sudden, all the Bills guys just jump the guardrail. All of a sudden, they all surround the ring, but they don't get in the ring. They just stand on the apron. So they just stand there. And Jeff Jarrett's kind of taunting taunting him back and forth. Eventually, a couple of guys do the thing where they kind of pull his neck down on the thing. They're doing a couple of moves to him. It looks bad, but at the same time, the crowd's kind of going nuts. Like the crowd actually gets up for a minute. And it's actually
the one thing, the biggest thing that's over on the show are people who aren't wrestlers.
People who aren't wrestlers, yeah, people from the football team. But give him credit. The crowd is standing up, going crazy. Awesome hits like another sit out awesome bomb. The crowd starts to count. This should be the finish. This is like the high point of the match. This should be the finish, but Jeff Jarrett kicks out because
he kicks out.
Of course he does. And then the crowd, the air gets sucked out of the thing because they thought that'd be the finish. And the Bills don't like come in, by the way, and like help him. They just stand there. Again, I don't know why they're just standing there. Jeff Jarrett hits a low blow because of course he does on Mike Awesome because there has to be a low blow in every one of these matches. Gary Coleman then comes in, hits a low blow to Jeff Jarrett. So it's another low blow right after that. He starts to celebrate with the crowd. But as Gary Coleman is turned to the crowd, Jarrett grabs his guitar and waffles Gary Coleman with a guitar.
No offense, RIP to Gary Coleman, but that looked kind of funny. I mean, it's small.
It was pretty funny.
Small people, it's like people of small stature taking guitar shots. It's funny,
It's the same thing with the Beetlejuice, like the Howard Stern guy when he got hit with the guitar backstage. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah, it looks kind of
funny. It's just funny. Yeah. So he hits him with a guitar, and then Sting runs out because
my god, we need more people. Like Jesus
more run-ins. Sting comes out, Scorpion Death drops Jeff Jarrett, and Mike Awesome gets the pin.
How did he? What? Why did Mike Awesome need that much help to beat Jeff Jarrett?
To beat Jeff Jarrett, you couldn't have Mike Awesome just beat Jeff Jarrett.
He might be get over.
Yeah. Or have like Mike Awesome and the Bills guys beat Jeff Jarrett. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I thought at one point I was like, man, this Jeff Jarrett, the babyface fighting the odds against 11 people in this match, surviving. The heel in peril as he's fighting off not only Mike Awesome but an entire football team, and Gary Coleman and Sting. What a valiant what a valiant baby Jeff Jarrett fighting off these incredible odds. And still hanging in there, but eventually gets Jeff Jarrett looks like the babyface there. He's getting attacked by 11 people. So
you know what? He should have a title shot. I agree with him.
You know what? Yeah, sure. Why not? So he chosen one. But what do you think of this whole thing? It was a lot of shenanigans and nonsense.
I have a book clusterfuck.
Yeah, it sure is.
Look, I like Mike Awesome, but that 70s gimmick is only going to go so far. But like you said, that there was a moment where, that would have been a perfect finish of the match where,
the Bills guys were wailing on him, and then Awesome hits a giant powerbomb. The crowd's going nuts for that. He hits the powerbomb. 1, 2,
and then you didn't need to have him kick out is like a giant babyface move thing to do. Like what? Why are you protecting Jeff Jarrett? I don't know. But yeah, they did. They had a. Russo really liked Jeff Jarrett around this time, especially. I don't know. But yeah, so then when you, and then it just devolved into every ending of Nitro. Everybody comes in the ring, and then it just devolves into chaos. So then Awesome wins, and so you're left going, oh, okay, not left with the last image or Awesome won. What a great win for him. Left with cool. Sting got his revenge. I guess Sting got his revenge, and and Mike Awesome's there. Cool.
Mike Awesome needed 11 people in his corner to beat Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
So, there you go. So he still looks like a geek because he couldn't beat Jeff Jarrett with the aid of weapons and a football team and Gary Coleman and so basically. But yeah, so whatever. So we get a kind of a video package of Goldberg and Steiner and kind of what they've been going back and forth. A lot of violence to women between the two guys. Goldberg's beating up Medeja, Steiner's beating up Goldberg's girlfriend. I don't know. a lot of violence against women again because Russo doesn't like women, so it's fine. They're fair game. And then Gene is with Scott Steiner. I have no idea what he's talking about. He cuts the Scott Steiner promo. I have no idea. It's a whole lot of I'm gonna break your face. Jenny freak. I don't know what he's saying. So I didn't write it down. So we once again have another match with no disqualifications. That's made clear at the beginning of this match. No DQ match. Goldberg, there must be a winner. Goldberg versus Scott Steiner. I'll say this straight up. There's a lot of dumb shenanigans in this match still, it's overbooked with all the interference. but this was Haas warfare, and I fucking loved it. I thought this was great. This was kind of awesome. This was kind of a great meaty match of just them two just slamming each other left and right and just killing each other, and it was kind of awesome in between all the shenanigans. I thought I'll just say that straight up. So Steiner immediately attacks Goldberg in the corner, but Goldberg fights back with a huge flying shoulder block. Goldberg then just immediately press slams Steiner and hits his like huge gorilla press slam thing. That looked great. Goldberg always pulled that off pretty well. Crowd pop for it. Steiner kind of powders out to the outside. Goldberg gets whipped into the rails. They're both kind of, again, there's not a lot of psychology in this match. It's just these two dudes kind of slamming into each other. So there's not a lot of transition. It's like I had a big move, you had a big move. But it is what it is. So they're back in. Steiner with a Steiner line and an elbow drop for 2. Goldberg boots Steiner in the corner and hits a big kind of underhook throw and throws Scott Steiner across the ring. Steiner then just hits like a cutter in the middle of the ring, almost like a diamond cutter, and then a belly to belly for a 2 count. Steiner tries. This is a great spot. Steiner tries a tombstone, is what it looks like. Goldberg does the bridge back where he reverses the tombstone and then picks him up on his shoulders and snaps him over into a slam for a 2 count. That looked great.
That was cool.
That was great, and the crowd again popped for that. Again, these two guys slamming each other. It was good. It was good fun for a little bit. So Steiner gets up. He tries a crossbody, but again, he tries a crossbody off the top. Goldberg catches him into a power slam for 2. That was awesome as well. Again, these two guys are big and strong, and were slamming into each other like animals. It was pretty great for a little bit.
I think around this time too, Goldberg starts bleeding, and I know that I expected this because at one point I could see clear as day. Boom! Goldberg put the blade in his tights.
Yeah, it was when they went to the outside because this is when Medeja first interferes with the pipe. Steiner then throws Goldberg into the stairs. I think that's when he bladed because it was when he was kind of down by the stairs. So that's when he did his thing because then he gets put in the tree of woe and he's bleeding right there. Steiner grabs a chair and kind of hits him in the ribs. Yeah, Goldberg's busted open here. Scott then hits an overhead T-bone suplex, which again looked great. Steiner's suplexing Goldberg all over the place. Looked good. He hits a huge overhead belly to belly. Goldberg lands right on his head. He did that a couple of times. Goldberg was not the best at tucking or rolling for these things, so
and he wouldn't improve that.
No.
Undertaker match.
So after that overhead belly to belly, Goldberg then fires up and just spears Steiner out of nowhere, as he was one to do in a lot of his matches. Just gets up and spears him. But Russo comes in with a baseball bat. So Russo and Medeja are both out there helping out Steiner here. But he only gets a 2 count off of that after Steiner tries to pin him for that. They're on the outside. They're kind of working around the outside. They set up a table. One of the legs gets broken, but he uses it anyways. Steiner just body slams him onto the table and breaks it. Inside the ring, Steiner puts on the Steiner recliner. But
it kind of does. It's more like a chin lock thing. I don't think he puts.
Yeah, I mean it's meant to be like a camel clutch, but yeah, it looks more like a chin lock. But this was again nuts because then Goldberg stands up with Steiner on him in the kind of electric chair and forward tosses Steiner like ass first into the ropes. That was I was like, Jesus Christ. So Steiner then puts Goldberg up on the top. Medeja hits a pipe shot. Russo hits a bat shot. And then Steiner hits a huge overhead suplex off the top to Goldberg for a 2 count. Again, lands on his head coming off the thing. Doesn't tuck properly. But then Steiner puts him in another Steiner recliner. Goldberg pulls the ropes and with the pulling ropes kind of tosses Steiner off of him. So he tumbles out. Goldberg then tries his kind of snap neck breaker thing. It didn't look great. Like Steiner, I think, didn't really know how to take it. Russo's back in. But Scott eventually grabs the pipe that Medeja has, hits him in the back and hits him in the head with the pipe, and then puts him in the recliner once more. Goldberg passes out, and they call for the bell. So Scott Steiner has beaten Goldberg with the assistance of Medeja and Russo. I mean, I didn't love the fact that Medeja and Russo were out there just hitting bat shots and pipe shots. It was a little overbooked. But goddamn, if this wasn't kind of fun at spots with Steiner and Goldberg just slamming each other and suplexing each other, and it was a car wreck, and I kind of loved when they were just doing that. It was actually better, way better than I thought it was going to be. I don't know. I thought it was a pretty decent house warfare for what it was, Richie.
Yeah. No, I like the meaty man match of it. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, it's a bit sloppy in parts, but that's almost made the match quite actually.
Goldberg matches are always like that. There's no real psychology. It's like he'll just spear you out of nowhere. He'll just slam you out of nowhere. The other guy will slam you. Like whatever. It is what it is.
To an extent, Steiner matches at this an era like that too. It's like with the so like you still do cool suplexes here and there, but yeah, I wasn't. I'll say I wasn't like totally surprised that we got a shadow of what Steiner was when it came into WWE in 2002. But but like this match is still cool, and like I liked it a lot, and I forget that because I when I think of like Goldberg losing, I think he lost to Kevin Nash. I forgot he lost it. He also didn't lost to Scott Steiner. He didn't lose that much. But
Yeah, and then we get a video for our main event of Booker T and Kevin Nash. They've just kind of been going back and forth with the belt and whatnot. Not a whole lot going into this. But it's a cage match for the WCW title. Cages mean nothing in WCW. There was a cage match 2 weeks before this. There's a cage match 2 weeks after this. Cages mean nothing in WCW because 2 weeks after this show, Vince Russo wins the title in the cage. That's around when this time was. And then 2 weeks before this, there was a triple cage match, the same cage from Ready to Rumble, and Kevin Nash wins the belt in that one. So
wasn't there a cage match with Ric Flair and Russo and Nitro at one point too?
Yeah. Where Ric Flair put him in figure 4 for like 5 minutes and he never tapped out. The
gutsy Russo.
that fiery Russo that you just can't beat. But yeah, so we got a cage match here for the title. Got the champion Kevin Nash taking on Booker T. Michael Buffer does the ring intros. They were still paying.
They still paying Michael Buffer.
They're still paying him like 6 figures every time he does this. It's ridiculous. What a waste of money.
And he's not great. Bruce Buffer's so much better.
Yeah, Bruce is better. Not a whole lot of shenanigans actually. It's a pretty straightforward match, but it's very short. I feel like they got their time cut because they are going pretty fast in this match, and I think they were literally running out of time on the pay-per-view because this match only goes like 6.5 minutes.
I'm just on cage match actually because I was wondering the same thing.
This match was 6.5 minutes, and I think it's because they were just running out of time. I think the Paul Nordorf thing went long, and then a couple of these matches went long, so I think they ran out of time because they're going pretty quickly, and there's not a whole lot going on. But Nash hits a hip toss at the beginning. Booker T fights back with a big flank forearm. Nash hits his usual corner stuff, so the corner splash, the elbows, the knees, all the stuff that Kevin Nash always does in the corner in every match. Booker tries to fight back, but Nash hits a big lariat that knocks Booker inside and out. We should say at the beginning of the match, Nash took off the turnbuckle pad in one of the corners. That comes into play later. He kind of did that, early in the match. Nash hits a big sidewalk slam. He tries to snake eyes, but Booker body slams him in the middle of the ring. There's a big Harlem sidekick that takes down Nash and a scissor kick, but he's unable to follow up with that. He goes for the bookend, but Nash counters with a choke slam for 2. He slams Booker's head into the cage a couple of times. Booker tries to fight back with some right hands, and he is able to get a hold of Nash and slams his head into the exposed turnbuckle. Nash is bleeding a little bit from that turnbuckle shot. His head goes into the cage. Booker T goes up for the 10 punches, but there's a low blow to Booker T because we haven't seen that tonight. So low blow counter as he's on top of him. Nash tries for the jackknife kind of near the turnbuckle, but Booker gets out of the jackknife and grabs a hold of the cage, and he's up top. He hits the big missile drop kick, but only gets 2. And then there's some more right hands and another low blow to Booker T. So Nash had 2 low blows in this match because Jesus Christ, can't get enough low blows.
I feel like Vince Russo got kicked in the nuts prior to this pay-per-view, and now he's just taking it all out as frustration.
Yeah, I swear to God, because there's multiple ones in multiple matches. Yeah, there's 2 in this one. He hits a big boot to Booker, but he goes for the jackknife again. But once again, Booker is able to counter out of the jackknife, and he hits the bookend in the middle of the ring for the 3 count, and he wins the title. And that's it. No interference, no real shenanigans, for this cage match. It's just a clean pin in the middle of the ring, and Booker wins the title. It's kind of like I fully expected, 12 people to run in this match. Jeff Jarrett, I don't know, Scott Steiner, everybody to come out, Vince Russo. But no, Booker T just wins the title clean in the middle of the ring. So, hey, at least we ended the pay-per-view with a somewhat clean finish and a pretty rushed match, but whatever. At least it was a good moment. Booker wins the title at the end of the pay-per-view. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, it was a rush match. I don't know. There's not much to talk about in the match. To be honest, it's just like it was. I think the cage match is just there to be a cage match. It's not. There's not much storyline sense to be a cage match because it's like,
well, they didn't use it that much other than ramming the head once or twice. Nobody ran out, so it wasn't to prevent
because at least
anybody.
in kayfabe and supposedly it's supposed to keep people in or out, but nobody even tried to come in. So it's like, okay, you did it just to have it as a thing,
Because every match needed a stipulation on the show. That's why.
But,
so
and so like beyond that, like the cage just felt like every Kevin Nash match you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like Kevin Nash does his stuff. It's you either get two Kevin Nash matches, you either get Kevin Nash with his working boots on, or Kevin Nash going through the motions. Felt like you got the latter a bit here, maybe a combination of like a bit of the mix of two. But Booker T is always good, and it's cool to see him. Gives a moment for this. I think the second reign here. The match is nothing. It's a shame. I get why this is main event because it's for the title, but probably would have been more of a thing if they just ended with the Scott Steiner thing, because that was more of a kind of impactful match than this, which is it's a cool moment, but the match itself was meh.
Yeah, it was what it was, but so out of 10, Richie, what would you give this show?
This is tricky because some of the matches were all right, pretty good, but and it's not the most Russo-rific show I've ever seen, even though every match has stipulation and there's still too many interferences. I'm tempted to give it about I'll go 6.5. Yeah, I think that's.
I'd go a little lower than that. I go to about 5.5. I'll go to a 5.5.
Okay,
I think it's just entertaining enough, to where it didn't frustrate me, but it's also not great either. You know what I mean? There were a couple of good matches. I think in ring wise, 3 count. That trios match might have been kind of the best match on the show, just as far as there's no interference, there's no shenanigans. It was just pretty much straight up, 6-man tag. And then my favorite match on the show might have been Goldberg and Scott Steiner, just because I love, big, mean, scary guy matches, slamming into each other. So that was fun. The elimination thing was okay, while it was going. It was entertaining enough, even though it was pretty chaotic. And then the opening match was okay. So again, there was some decent wrestling on the show, but there was also some just useless stuff on the show. The scaffold match was kind of useless. The 3-way was useless. The bunkhouse match could have been a little more fun, but overbooked. Again, a lot of stipulations, a lot of no DQ stuff, a lot of run-ins. So but I've seen worse Russo shows. This is nowhere near the worst one. I could have made us watch New Blood Rising, which is one of the worst ones ever, or Sold Out 2000, which is really bad. We could have watched worse shows than this. So I feel like we could have done worse than this. Actually, at least there was some wrestling on the show. I'll say that. So, and there were a bunch of 2-minute matches. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to have storyline reasons for the stipulations, but the real reason is Vince Russo's just against normal, one-on-one matches or whatever, because it'd be cool. Okay, a scaffold match, I could, even though I'm not the biggest fan of them, I could buy it if there was a storyline reason, I chose Shane Douglas, I chose a scaffold match because I don't know,
because Kidman's afraid of heights. Humans are afraid of heights. They found out they're terrified of heights because they climbed a ladder or they were on a roof somewhere or something, and they were terrified. I don't know. And okay, we'll have a scaffold match, and you'll be terrified.
But again, as we've seen, scaffold, you're limited to what you can do because I don't know if you saw there was one in TNA with AJ and Rhino. They look petrified. Even AJ.
Well, yeah, of course, because if you fall the wrong way, if you don't hit the crash pad, there's if you slip doing a move, you're trying, you can't do much on top of the scaffold, and the crowd is just waiting for somebody to just get thrown off the scaffold because that's all you can do in a scaffold match. You're just waiting for the drop. That's all you're waiting for. You can't really do anything. So I mean, at least they kept it short. It was only 6 minutes, so it wasn't that bad. They didn't drag it out too much. So at least give them that.
But beyond that, it's obviously things that I expected things not to fully make sense, but yeah, there was enough like they have a good roster. There's some decent, that's probably what they got going for it. There's like the great cruiserweights and wrestlers I like. I always appreciate Scott Steiner's antics, and I like Booker T. So there's enough in there to be somewhat enjoyable. But yeah, it's not like like if they produced this, if a wrestling company produced this level of a show now. I'd be a bit pissed off.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so like not the worst, not the best. It's kind of just right in the middle. It's a total mixed bag show. Yeah, some good, some bad. But yeah, I don't think everything was as egregious as some other Russo shows I've seen. So I'll give it at least a semi-passing score. You know what I mean? It's not the worst. We could have done way worse. Well, you guys better not hope I win something in December, because oh boy, we are doing December.
Oh God.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do December.
We have to at some point. It's that elephant in the room.
Yeah, it's in December. We're gonna have to at some point. We got to. So, I just feel like we have to confront it and talk about it, and just watch it in full and see what it is. So we'll see. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there for tonight. Next week we'll do something for JPO. I think I still don't know what he wants to do. We'll have to get behind the scenes and ask him. So yeah, he wants to do something next week, and then we'll do some Bad Blood predictions. So we'll be coming up on Bad Blood. So it should be all right. We should get the finalized card probably after Raw or so and see what we got going on. But yeah, what you got going on, man? We'll wrap it up here.
You can find me tournament fights. Not sure exactly when my next one is. I think of my next week at some point. And Wheel of Movies every fortnight. The next one we got going is Grease.
Grease is what we
Grease is the word.
Grease is the word.
So check out for that. I haven't watched that in a while, so it'd be good to revisit that. And even though I'm not a musical guy, but Grease is good. So and then beyond that, I pop up on JPS channel doing trivia. I'm in the Lights Out tournament as well. That teaming with Jay Burns. It should be soon. I believe you're in the tournament as well.
I am in there, and I got teamed up on the wheel with Topher, so I'm with Topher.
Topher, yeah. So it should be interesting. And got that going on, and and beyond that, you'll probably see me pop up. Oh yeah, I'll be on Recast, the Matrix one coming up.
That's October 7th. We'll be doing a recast of the Matrix. Jordan and Steven Shepard will be on that one, so that should be fun.
Yeah, I've already given my picks to you very quickly because I thought about this for a while.
I made my picks like a month ago. Yeah, I already have mine as well. So yeah,
it should be fun. I like that show a lot. And then That's
I think are you on Rankum with me for next Monday?
Yeah, I am. The Final Fantasy deaths. Yes, I am on that show.
Yeah, Final Destination deaths. Yeah.
Final Destination, yeah.
Not Final Fantasy, yeah.
Final Destination deaths. Yes.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Tanning bed. Should be on that one.
Tanning bed is a good one. Yeah, that's good. The shower one from the first movie should be on there.
I don't like the movie, but the pool death and the final
pool death is pretty good. Yeah, the gymnastics one from 5 is pretty good. There's some good stuff there. So there's some good stuff in those series. Yeah, we'll talk about it. I'm gonna say yes to a lot of those, so we'll just have to get them in quick because most of them are pretty good. We'll talk about that on Monday. Yeah, I was gonna go to TNA this weekend, but it got rescheduled and shifted, and I can't go now, so that sucks. But hopefully they'll roll back through again, at some point, and I'll get to check them out. We'll be back next week for some more Lonely Marks, like you said, Wheel of Movies. Got all kinds of stuff on the Movie Hero Network. I'll be hosting the championship episode for the 2000 Ladder Series tomorrow night, so we'll be wrapping that up with our half bracket, and we'll see what wins that. Other than that, that'll kind of wrap it up for tonight, man. So thanks for hanging out with me, Richie. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching the show as much as it's a Russo so show, but it wasn't the worst one, so it wasn't too bad. Again, there were things to talk about, so we have plenty of material to still talk about, so that was all right. But yeah, thanks for talking about it with me, and we'll wrap it up there, man. So yeah, hopefully we'll have Jacob Barber and Jordan Owens back next week with us, talk some more wrestling. But for Richie, I'm Austin Pez Howell, and thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time.